What is up, everybody? Alright, so yeah, I've noticed that my SQ counter is lower than it was, and this did not go well. So okay, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get Not Virgil to NP2, and I'm like, you know, I got him NP1 for free, right? One summon ticket, that's basically free. So it's like, I basically just need to get him to NP1, right? Like, I got a free copy, I just need to get one copy of him, and you know, he's good to go, right? And I'm like, it can't be that bad, right? And so I was like, you know, I'm only gonna roll until I get one copy of him, because I don't care about Himiko at all. I would never level her, you know, I don't need her at all. And these CEs are trash. Like, if you're a super new player, these CEs are okay, but like, if someone's been playing for a long time, these CEs are, yeah, I don't know, you're never gonna use them, like, no way. And it didn't go very well. It didn't go very well. Okay, I am often a CE magnet. I have never gotten so many CEs. Like that, first of all, none that I need, by the way. I didn't get like spooked by imaginary around or K-scope or anything. It was just a fucking 5-star CE over and over and over and over and over and over. I cannot believe how much I got it. It was fucking stupid. And yeah, and so again, at the second I get one copy of the guy, I would stop rolling. But yeah, no, that happened first. I was not in a great mood last night. I needed one copy. Okay, I needed one copy of my boy, right? And I got like 9 of the event CE. God knows how many of the 4-star. I did get a pin spook. I did get a pin spook, and so that was kind of nice. But it's just I don't understand. I'm so like see these 4 golds at the bottom. I don't want these, right? They don't do anything, right? These are rare items, right? But they're worthless, right? I'm never gonna level them. I don't give a shit about them. They're just there, right? It's just, and I am so tired of getting multiple 5-stars before I can get a god. I never got Brunhilde, right? I got the twin thoughts down there, but how do you get the 5-star twice? But you don't get the 4-star once, right? Like, God fucking... Anyway, so, on the plus side, I did eventually get a copy of Not Virgil, you know, after using like 400 SQ or some crap. So that was great. Seriously, I felt like, you know, it's okay. I got one copy of him for free. So I don't need to get, it's not like going for NP2, it's like going for NP1, and then you get NP2 out of it, right? That's easy. But no, for fucking 400 SQ, like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm just glad I had so much saved up, so like, you know, I'm still, you know, in decent shape here. But like, fuck me, man. I don't want to. Dude, 4-star rate ups are so. Oh yeah, I also got a Valkyrie spook. I got a Valkyrie spook too. I now have MP5 Valkyrie because I got been spooked by her so many times. Well, that doesn't seem like the best for free time. But yeah, so I'm hoping we don't have any rate ups I care about anytime soon, so I can get my SQ back. Much of. I you know, on the one hand, I really do like Not Virgil. He's really awesome. I really like him. He's one of the few weeb characters I like. Like, you know, he's really cool. I'm very glad to have him at NP2. That's really all you need to make a 4-star feel like, you know, really like good to go, right? But fucking God, just like I don't like hate Himiko like I hate Kiara, but I'm never gonna level her. Like, there's no fucking way. I have no interest in having my own, you know, Himiko, like, not at all, so it's a complete waste. Alright, let's see if, does anybody in chat have a leveled up Himiko, though? Because I really want to test her against the dragon. You know, funny when I have my own, but like, you know, I ain't leveling that shit. But, if someone's got one that's like ready to go and in good shape, I'd like to test it against the dragon. NP1's fine. I think most people have NP1 anyway. But I do really think units like Baldi, Orion, Himiko, units like that, the difference between NP5 and NP1 for them is just so big with the way they like to double NP, right? And like the way the buff stack. It's quite huge. But I think it's fair to test her at NP1 because, I mean, for God's sakes, we've tested Orion at NP1 and he still does, you know, really well. So if we could get some, let's wait for Lost here because yeah, he's got to be the non-event slot, obviously. Blah blah blah. I think Lost knows the drill. Yes, I got Himiko twice. Trying to get 1 copy of the 4-star. The only way I'd ever level her is if she ever got a strengthening quest or an interlude that had gameplay that I really wanted, you know, to keep around. That'd be the only reason. But yeah, it's and you know, I'm not. Here's the thing, you know, like it's not like a lot of people want them 5-star waifus, right? So it's like it's not like I'm complaining about having good luck, but because it's not good luck. You gotta understand, if you get something rare but you don't want it, it's not. It's not good, right? It doesn't feel like, oh, hey, I got lucky. It feels like I got really lucky on a thing that I didn't want and I couldn't get the thing that was more likely to get, right? It's just so fucking obnoxious. Like, I can't believe, how do I have 2 Kiaras and not 1 Brunhilde, right? Like, Jesus Christ, man. And like, if I had like any interest, you know, in Kiara, I'd be like, oh hey, I got the 5-star, but okay, so this is still pretty far off. This is not going to be a very scientific test here, but let's see. Gotta get a Rosh in here. I have too many units leveled, Jesus. I wonder if I should start leveling K-Scope, because I finished Art of Death. So I finished Golden Sumo, Black Grail, Art of Death. I wonder if K-Scope would be the next one. Probably not, just because you don't really use it. Like, I don't use it for, like, challenge quest videos or anything. X luck, yeah. I like the way you did that. Okay, I guess Anniversary Blonde for her, because unlike Orion, you're not gonna crit, like, otherwise, like, you're gonna need something to help you with the stars. Because you know, whenever they add a 5-star, they're like, oh, I want that, right? You know, this ain't gonna happen, right? And I'm not. It's just no way. Like, you know, they'll add like, you know, Vortigern or something, and it'll take me like, you know, 1,200 SQ or some, you know, horse shit to get a copy or something, right? Because like, you know, Romulus didn't go so well. He didn't go terribly, but Romulus didn't go too well. Certainly didn't have a Kiara moment. Well, that's a good opening hand. Lost, can we bother you to give her command codes? Because we're going to need to do like everything we can to like, you know, boost her up to kind of make it a fair shake. Dude, I got Gil in like 1,100 SQ, and then I've rolled on him every time he's been rated up since. Like, the amount of SQ I've thrown at Gilgamesh's face on that account, at this point, is probably over 2,000 SQ, right? Like, over the years. And then on my main account, it's irrelevant because I don't even use him on my main account. And that was just from GSSR, I'm pretty sure. Alright, Arashko Boom. I like how no one has a quick card. I know they don't have many quick cards in their deck, but there's only 2 servants, not 3, and no one got a quick card. Like, Jesus. Watch this Mad Starjin. Oh yeah. When we killed the Golem, so now Stella hits less targets, so that was a mistake. I saw somebody saying that not Virgil is the best art saber in the game. Not best 4-star art saber in the game, but the best art saber in the game. And I was just like, brah, like Saber Nero's a thing, right? Like that'll, you know, Nero Bride, right? Like that alone is just like, there's no comparison here. Yeah, and twins, Jesus. And like, I think City Master is absolutely better than him. Like, absolutely. I think he's a bit better at looping with like Castoria, but in terms of overall value, you know, damage in survival ratio, all that, I think City Master is easily better than him. Not that he's bad. Not Virgil's really good. Like, I think he's good. But I definitely think Yagyu, you know, Sitting Master is better. And I think a lot of times Lancelot is better. It just kind of depends on circumstances. Okay, so we have no stars. Let me think about this. Well, I definitely do this. I kind of want to use my, even though we're not going to get much out of it right now, I kind of want to use my second skill so it goes on cooldown and I can use it again later. I mean, it lasts 3 turns. Yeah, the star issue is definitely a problem for her. Like, she can't reliably make stars on her own, and in a team context, she's not like... Because Orion, even in a team context, can guarantee crits very easily. Like, her first skill is obviously better in a team context, and you can definitely get some crits out of it, but it's not like she has a Star Absorb skill or anything. Well, doesn't she have Star Absorb for most of her cards, though? Yeah, she does have for only 1 turn. That helps, though. That does help. She has Star Absorb for most of 1 turn. The thing is, Orion just keeps going, right? He keeps critting. Like, it's not like this one big blammo, right? It's like he just keeps slamming. I don't really see her doing that. He's obviously a fan of Antoinette, though. Alright, am I going to be impressed or not? Let's see. Nope. Not at all. Like, if you use all those skills and shit and you just do normal MP damage, right, you're... Like, we're not paying off her debt there. Like, it's okay, you know, it's okay. And then, you know, because she kind of can do that while also giving support to the team, and I think that's ultimately the idea. But, that's... I feel like I guarantee you there's videos on YouTube right now of like her with like Merlin and Waver or Castoria and all these supports and stuff and doing big damage and everything. It's like, oh, look how good she is. But when you throw those kind of supports at like, you know, Gilgamesh, Orion, you know, Ku Alter, so many things, it's gonna be way better. Like, I don't see this being that great. Like, it's okay, she's workable if you like her. I think there's no problem making her be a, you know, a decent servant and stuff, but that's just... She's not that tanky, and she doesn't have that good of utility, and she doesn't do that much damage. She's, you know, does all of those things, right? So she, you know, definitely has some niche use, but... I mean, do you realize how easy it is to make Super Orion do 3 million damage? Like, it's incredibly easy. Also, I bet you that was in the event, where you're getting, you know, a massive, event bonus. And it's like, I can make Ku do 3 million damage. Like, I quite easily, like with doing scatty stuff, I can make Ku do 3 million damage. But that's not why Ku's good. Because when was the last time you had a break bar that had 3 million health? Right? Like literally, when was the last time we did that? You know, that's not a thing, right? It's more about, you know, repeat damage and survivability and those kinds of things. And I mean, I don't think she's bad. I absolutely do not think she's bad. Because she is a ruler, right? And rulers are very tanky, and that's really good. But that, you know, her multipliers and stuff just aren't that great. She's not going to be getting counterclass damage. I do think she's good against demonic, right? But you know, and like, you know, with her event bonus for this event, you know, that's going on right now, she's super strong. Because like, what is her event bonus? Let me look. I think it's like I'm gonna guess it's 100%, but I don't know for sure. Let me look. Where the hell is the event bonus servant listing? There it is. Yeah, she gets 100%. She gets 100% bonus damage, right? So in the event, she's fucking godly, but you know, anyone that gets that kind of event bonus generally does really well. That is funny. They gave Nobukatsu 100% event bonus too, but you know, his NP doesn't even do damage or anything. That's kind of, wow. They even gave Hajima. They gave him 100% damage. I thought he'd get 50. Huh? They don't normally do that. Gilgamesh gets an event bonus. That's kind of funny. Space Ishtar gets an event bonus. What the fuck? Mori gets a 50% damage bonus though. That could be. I might have to mess around with that at some point. But this happens every time a new character comes out. People throw every OP support at it and do the typical buff stacking nonsense. And then people act like the servant's amazing. When you do that kind of buff stacking nonsense and you size it up to everyone else, it's not any better, and it's not like the repeat damage is any better. And then again, like I remember when Alva came out, people kept doing videos with her when she had an event bonus, and people were like trying to say she was like gonna be so meta and so good. No one uses her now. No one. Like no one. Like she's such a dead unit. And like, it's like event bonuses, you know, do not actually show how good a unit is. And you know, obviously in soloing is not, you know, the kind of context you'd want to use her in anyway, right? But I'm kind of just using solo just to look at her straight value. What kind of numbers does she have, right? Because in a solo you get to see, you know, how much damage multipliers you have, and it's an easy way to see those kind of things. Although this is just 666, you know, MP1. Like I said this yesterday, I think if she's MP5, I think that's, you know, that's pretty good. Because if you can like double MP with her at MP5, that's big. But if Orion is MP5, you know, or a lot of these other units are MP5, you know, wow guys, SSRs at MP5 are really strong. Who knew, right? That's not unique to her at all. That kind of sucks. Because even Awawa can, you know, throw out some decent numbers and looping and whatnot if she's in MP5, but then you guys compare her to everyone else in MP5, and it doesn't look so good. The thing is, if you're using double, see, that's double Castoria being good though. And yeah, it's nice that she can work with Castoria. You gotta have somebody to see the DPS, right? But there's nothing unique about the unit. There's a million other units you could use with double Castoria if they're gonna loop easily. Like fucking Geronimo can loop with double Castoria, for God's sakes. So that's not like a selling point for her. Now, I don't think Awawa is like some trash unit that's unusable and blah, you know, nothing like that or anything. I don't think Himiko's a trash unit either. But there's just this new toy effect that people do, and I noticed the player base is just really susceptible to this because I don't think a lot of players actually know what the fuck is going on in this game, right? And so they see somebody, you know, throw every OP support ever at whatever unit is new and do a lot of damage, and they're like, oh my god, this unit's gonna be like meta-defining. And they're power creep and blah 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 blah, and generally they're not that in the slightest. But I do think Himiko is going to be useful, and especially the best thing about her is just the fact that she's a ruler. Ruler is just a damn good class in this game. There's a lot of challenge quests where you, like for example, you might be in a challenge quest where each of the enemy health bars aren't too big, right? Maybe you're fighting 6 different enemies. You know, we've had a lot of challenge quests where you fight like 6 different, you know, servants. And maybe have break bars and so on and so forth, right? If you have a ruler, and a lot of those challenge quests, the ruler is going to be effective, you know, very tanky against every single one of those enemies. Where if you bring almost any other class, that's not going to be the case. And then if their health bars aren't that big, the fact that Himiko's not counterclassing doesn't matter, as long as she can probably do enough damage to, you know, break health bars anyway. So in situations like that, it can be really good, right? But a lot of times, you know, in those situations, you could have just brought a strong AoE servant. You know, if you're using like a high NP rank Himiko, you could have brought a high NP rank of a lot of AoE servants that probably do the same. And if you're throwing, you know, Merlin into the mix, or Waver, or Nero Bride, or, you know, whatever the fuck, you're going to be able to make those other servants, you know, do just as well, if not better. Like, I don't see a lot of circumstances where she's going to, like... You know, I see plenty of circumstances where she'll be good enough, you know, sure. But I don't see a lot of circumstances where she's going to be, like, meta-defining at all. And yes, Nobunatsu is limited, but it doesn't really matter because he's a 1-star, not a 2-star, so it takes no effort to get him. And you get a bunch of free daily summons because the event goes on for a long time, and the event gives out loads of FP. So if you're playing the game when he's added, and if you care at all to obtain him, you'll be able to obtain him. I will say though, you'll be able to crit more reliably with her in a team setting, right? Like Orion is unique in that he's able to pull off his gimmick quite easily in a solo and in a team. You know, like he's you know, quite flexible like that. She definitely, I think, needs to be on a team more than he does. Like he works really well both ways. But she doesn't seem to work that great in the solo. Not terrible, not terrible. It's not like she's shaming herself here. And she's 666, you know, she's not 10-10-10. She's MP1. Like seriously, if we were, Jesus, if we got a little bit luckier, we were 10-10-10, we had command codes, we were MP5, we'd be pretty far along right now, like for real, you know, we generally say getting to 700k is generally pretty good, right, like for a pure neutral. Obviously she's not pure neutral, but still getting to like 700k. We did not have any command codes, we're not 10-10-10, so like, you know, her she's alright, like I really think she's fine, like I think some people are gonna get the idea that I'm saying she's bad. I don't think she's bad at all. This is like I said, perfectly acceptable performance, but I'm not buying this like, oh my god, she's gonna be so OP thing. Alright, she got the command codes now. That's how we do. I would not be surprised if she could beat this stage though, if she's really like, I don't think reasonably she could beat it, but if she's like NP5, 2k foe, level 100, 10-10-10, you know, all the bells and whistles, you know, really good CE, really good command codes, all that stuff. I think she could definitely take out the dragon. Not that that's a standard to necessarily be a good unit. It's a good standard to be a good solo unit though if you're not an archer. Like most archers can solo this, but most things at neutral or half neutral, not so much. Would she be better if she had a gorilla deck? It kind of depends. Like in solo probably. In team play I'm not so sure. I don't really see why her first stage would be unusable. It's pretty tame. Like I was talking about this yesterday. I've seen so many people that act like it's like the most extreme, over the top, ridiculous. It's such a basic app design. Who cares? Like, Jesus. Like, how is that the thing people think is like too much? Like how is that the thing, right? Like when we have Calamity Jane over there, right? It's like nice color palette. Like Calamity Jane looks like she was going through someone was like painting, right? Like someone had like a giant canvas, right? And they had, you know, a lot of paint out, and they were like, you know, meticulously doing this like, you know, massive painting, and she was walking through the area and she tripped and fell into all the paint, right? That's what Calamity Jane looks like. I'm not even talking about the armpit thing. And like yesterday I was talking more about ankles, but somehow people translated that into armpits specifically, but you know, the internet. You know, I know listening is really hard for people sometimes, but you know, if people could try, that would be great. I will say the dive bomb animation there is pretty funny. Like, you know, what I was talking about is just the fact that we basically made everything perverted, even when it's not, right? And like, it's not surprising when you have, you know, people that have a fetish for something, but then when everyone else acts like everything is sexual, and how dare it? That's stupid. Like that's just dumb. Like, have you been living in a cave? Like that? It's just ridiculous. Because yeah, there's a fetish for everything, but who cares? That doesn't make the, you know, literally everything sexual inherently all the time. And even if someone else finds it sexual, who cares? Like, who cares? Like, I don't understand. It's so stupid. And I find it insane. You know, we have like so many of the designs in FGO are just so over the top. I mean, they're just so over the top, right? And it's anime, so whatever, right? But then the things that I see people complain about, I'm just like, what the fuck? It's just... And like subjectively, if someone's like, I don't like this design, that makes total sense. But that's normally what that's not what I've been seeing over the last few days. All right, let me see here. I almost want to go for the crits now. I just didn't make that many stars, but I made more than last time. That did... Well, RNG, let's go. I see what Lost did there with the command codes, but I didn't quite do that right. I don't like this unit though. I just in general, not a fan of this unit. Like, the design is, I'm just like, eh. Yeah, I don't, again, it's not one of those units like, Kiara or Liz. It's not one of those, but I'm like, I don't care for this unit. That was a lucky crit spread right there. I will say though, I can definitely see where in some AoE challenge quests, or just multi-class situations, or just fighting awkward classes, I can definitely see times where in a team context, she'll do enough damage to get the job done, right? She'll do enough damage to break health bars, but then also be really tanky, right? Because she's a ruler, and she has invulnerability. And that's good. Like, that's really good, right? That can be really helpful. But I also think, she's gonna rely on some pretty strong supports. It's not like you can just, any old player is gonna be able to slap her on a team and get a lot of value out of her. I just don't see that happening. And that's one reason why I think Orion is so good, because he works on all fronts, right? He works on budget teams, he works on Omega Whale teams, he works on kind of in the middle of the road teams, he works in solo, he works in team, very easy to use unit in terms of like, he just works well, right? His kit has really good synergy with itself, and it's very easy for him to, cooperate with other units of almost, all types, right? I don't really see that with her. And as I've always said, I do think Orion is also to a degree overrated. Not that I think he's bad. I think Orion is very, 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 very good. But I definitely see some people act like Orion is like the pinnacle unit in the entire game. Which I don't think that's true. I've seen plenty of boss fights where he doesn't really work so well for, right? There's plenty of styles of engagements where his, style of gameplay just doesn't really work out so good. But I've seen a lot of situations where like otherwise really obnoxious challenge quests or main story bosses will be, much easier because of him. So he's very good. And I really like the way Orion is designed in that he does work with, solo, team play, budget, non-budget, it's done really well. I just think it's gotten to the point where because the supports are so broken, if you've got all the supports maxed out and you got the right CEs and everything, you can make any unit look broken. And then people think those units are broken. Like I think we're at that point, right? Merlin, Nero Bride, Castro Artorias, Scatty, Waver, Tam, Switch Mystico, Toaster Girl, Qingong. These things allow you to just be so disgusting, right? Like so disgusting that it's really easy to make, content trivial, and it's really easy to make almost any unit look overpowered with those things. But it's more of the supports. Yeah, I don't see Orion being the best for the maze event CQ. You could probably still make it work though. Like it require a lot more effort. There's definitely better options than him. But yeah, those kind of fights aren't quite up his alley because there's an element of stall and timing with the breaks and then like AOE was heavily incentivized there and things like that. And you can't AOE with normal card damage dealers. But yeah, I've seen this for the longest time in the FGO community where supports are just carrying and people try to say it's the DPS, right? It's like, that's stupid. I've seen that so many times where, like, you know, somebody is just using every OP support ever and they're like, you know, look at how good this unit is, and it's like, I think you mean look how good Scatty is, or Merlin, or, you know, Castor Tori is. Yeah, I honestly, I like Okita's new normal attacks a bit better, because they're kind of the same, but just a bit better. But yeah, honestly, I kind of liked their other NP better. I don't think they did so good on that. I actually think we'd do better with Atlas here, because then I could use my second skill again, and I could use Invulnerability here. Using Guts here, we're losing so much. Like, we're a ruler. We get so much value per point of health that, yeah, I don't think, ultimately, I don't think Anniversary Blonde is right for her here. I will say, I do think she's one of those units that will be abnormally meh in solo. I think she's alright. I mean, her performance has been fine, and at NP5, so I think she'd be winning. But she's kind of like Lancelot, where she's going to see a huge spike in her performance when she is in a team, compared to what they're going to be like in, like, solo. Because solo does allow you to see, like, raw value and stuff, but it's the kind of synergy she needs. I'm going to try Atlas real quick. The kind of synergy she needs is going to be very team reliant, so. It's just like, you know, Lancelot does quite badly in solo. I'd say he does much worse in solo than she does. But then he does, you know, very exceptional on a team. And Gilgamesh is like that too. You know, Gilgamesh just has... Yeah, in a solo, Gil can show off that raw value. Because raw value is raw value. Damage is damage. Survivability is survivability. You know, and in a solo, the more of that you have, the better, right? And that applies in team play and solo. So it's like, other things in solo can kind of show the value of a unit and kind of show what their gain rates are like. It can show what their, you know, their default damage is like. But, you know, some units just have certain flaws in their kit that make them, you know, exceptionally bad in a solo, or they're so specifically aimed at team play. Like, for example, you know, units that have Star Absorb, you know, that's not particularly helpful if you're a last man standing. Never mind solo. Let's say they're your last man standing, you're trying to do a Hercules thing or a coup thing at the end, but you use Lancelot for that, Saber Lancelot. That doesn't work very well, right? Because his whole shtick is you can turn a few stars into guaranteed crits because his absorb is so high, but that's unapplicable when you have every single, you know, card in the hand every turn, right? So Lancelot just makes a terrible last man standing unit. Like his, you know, where other units, it doesn't matter, right? It's like, if you got an evade, you've just got, you know, attack up, just got buster up, crit up, you know, debuff removal, heals. These things are, you know, just straight value. They work the same in team or solo, and so your total value in a solo you can kind of like, okay, you can kind of see how this, you know, how this would translate to a team. You're not going to see that so much with, like, Lancelot, and I don't think you're going to see that so much with Himiko either. Like, you see some of it, you know, you can see her raw numbers with, like, her attack up and buster up and crit up. Hey, thank you for the bits, man. 10 bits. Man, so like the night before last, I slept very, very badly because I, you know, had breathing problems and everything, and it was nasty. But I slept so much last night. That was quite nice, actually. You know, I still woke up some because of the breathing, but I still got, I got more sleep than I would normally get. Like, because basically I woke up from the breathing stuff after like maybe 7 hours of sleep, which is way more sleep than I normally get with all this nonsense. And a lot of times if I sleep that long, I can't go back to sleep. Like if I go for like 6 or 7 hours without, you know, any breathing issues, if I wake up from breathing issues, I'm not going back to sleep. Like, it's not going to happen, right? But last night I was able to sleep like 7 hours without waking up, and then when I woke up, I was actually able to go back to sleep for like at least an hour or an hour and a half or something. So that's like the first time I've gotten like, you know, a decent amount of sleep in quite a while. So that was nice. I discovered like I've got to like use my medicine at the right time. Like that's definitely the thing that impacts my sleep the most. If I don't like take my medicine, I'll almost always wake up in like 3 hours or less. Like always, like my symptoms will just build up too much. But that's definitely been having a big impact. Yeah, not once, because, you know, before, you know, for like a good month there, you know, I was pretty much waking up every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, every night for so long. And the second I started taking the medicine, I started getting better. And then like I've had a couple nights where I didn't take the medicine to kind of see, and then I've always it could not, you know, I just wake up so fast. So the medicine is definitely working. I tell you, man, if I don't have breathing problems, I generally I do very good with sleep. I'm normally really good at getting solid sleep, but yeah, with breathing problems, there's not much you can do about it, really. Because your body wakes you up for a very good reason, right? If you're not breathing, you need to wake up, so it'll pretty much always wake you. I'm at 98%. Are you fucking kidding me? I should have been paying more attention. I feel like I could have gotten that percent. Fuck. You know what? Because we have Atlas, I think we do this. That means, though, we absolutely should have brought like a CE that didn't have starting NP, and I should have, you know, like kind of planned for that kind of setup. So we're kind of working against ourselves here, but it would be really funny to use her with Antoinette. Wait, really? Oh, right. We don't have anniversary, right? So yeah, she's a lot like Lancelot. She's definitely. I mean, I think she's better than Lancelot. I think her kit still translates somewhat to solo, and because she is so tanky, it's fine. But in terms of like straight practicality for like a normal player, I really stand by. Like, I don't think she's gonna be that great. That animation is pretty funny to me, though. It's just not really what you would expect her to do. Honestly, though, like, you know, I think she's one of those units where, like, if you really like her, I don't think she's like super meta, but you don't need, a unit doesn't need to be super meta to be good or fun to use or, you know, worth, you know, like, honestly, I think the units that are super meta, like top of the line, a lot of times end up being boring, right? I feel like with her, if she happens to be one of your favorite units, right? Because she's a ruler, that means she's applicable often, right? If you want to use her as a unit for almost any main story boss or challenge quest or whatever, you're going to be able to, right? And she's good enough that I think if you make a good enough team, you bring, you know, things to help her out, that, you know, she's usable and, you know, very often, and that'd be kind of fun. I actually think units that, you know, aren't like top of the line are normally more fun to make work. Some of my favorite units that are good, but not like, you know, meta, right? And I definitely think she's one of those. So in terms of like, you know, balance and fun and stuff, I think she's actually fine. Like, I think it'd probably be more fun to use her a lot of the time than like a lot of her competition, really, just because, you know, if you're not going super ham with like, you know, the absolute meta supports and stuff, you might have to actually work a bit harder. Like, I've always said, I think it would be really cool to have, like, you know, I like Rider Kuntoki a lot, but like Berserker Kuntoki, I'm kind of like, eh, you know. But like, I've always said, I think it'd be really fun if Berserker Kuntoki is like your favorite character, because he's not OP by any means, but he's got some unique, you know, things going for him, like with, you know, his, you know, battery and everything. And because he's a Berserker, you can use him, you know, pretty much for anything, right? So it's like, that'd be pretty fun. I feel like his positives, you know, are good enough that you could have some good times, but he's certainly not overpowered by any means. And you know, I think it'd be, you know, it'd just be something you could use often, and you'd have a lot of unique pros and cons that you have to build around. Hold on, I need to adjust my playlist for a second here. But yeah, I always feel like, you know, cons make units more fun, right? Like very, very much so. Let me fix my my thing here. But man, I can't get, fuck, what is wrong with this thing? There we go. Okay, I got it. Jesus. Hey, mofo, what's up? Yeah, Pint, oh my god, Pint is big time one of those. Pint is big time one of those. You know, she's good, very usable, but, you know, not gonna break the game. And her playstyle is pretty unique with, like, you know, she can throw out her NT pretty quickly without needing help from Waver and those kinds of things. And if you do have Waver and those kinds of things, she can kind of double NT, and then she helps someone else out, and then you got the debuff immunity, but you got to protect her. You know, she's got no survivability, and she's a berserker. You know, so that's really fun. Like, something that makes this game fun, and this is why I don't get burnt out, is because I'm not just doing the meta. I mean, dude, do people not realize this? And you know, and some people just like the meta, you know, and that's fine. If they're having fun, bless them, right? But I think for a lot of people, it surely becomes boring if you're always doing, you know, 3 turns, you know, for everything, and you're always using the, you know, absolute best supports and the best DPS for the job, and, you know, the best CEs. Because it's not like the meta is a mystery, right? It's not. I see so many people act like you have to be some, like, FGO guru to figure out how to do, like, double scatty, you know, cycling into Waver or Nero Bride and that kind of thing. Like, you don't, right? And same for Castoria. It's very same-o, tried and true formulas where, you know, the only few things that change are going to be based on, like, what kind of boss it is and, you know, what kind of damage is most meta, right? It's very samey. You know, the meta for this game has been very samey for a very long time. That is really boring to me. Now, if you don't find it boring and you enjoy it, that's great. Like, that's great. But I feel like a lot of people get kind of pressured into trying to follow the meta, and I don't think they enjoy it very much. It kind of obviously, you know, the reason why is kind of obvious. Oh yeah, when I'm God, sometimes when I'm farming, I like, for real, sometimes when I'm farming, I like to mess around, like, oh hey, let's try to make this unit do as much damage as possible. Let's make Ku do, like, you know, 3 million damage or whatever. Or let's make Hans do a bunch of damage, or or let's just, you know, look at this character's animations. You know, I absolutely do that from time to time when I'm farming. I'll be like, you know, well, let's do, like, you know, Billy and Calamity Jane or something, or you know, Asterios or something. You know, I absolutely do that from time to time. But sometimes I'm just trying to, like, farm on the side and not really paying attention to FGO, and then, you know, I'll be meta as fuck when I do that. Like, for real, I'll sometimes get pretty meta and 3-turn like crazy and all that nonsense. You know, very, very much so. But if I did that all the time, and especially for challenge quests and main story fights, I would get really bored. Like, and some people don't, and, you know, good for them. But I would get really bored, and I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people get pretty bored if they're just, you know, following the meta, because it's not, again, it's not like the meta is all that flexible or you know, complicated. It's been pretty known for a while. I hope that your Prime 4 is good, but I don't have high hopes. Alright, this is a long question. Let me try to get this right. Green in chat, speaking of pins, could you lend a hand? I'm planning the free SR, like free SR ticket, I'm assuming, on NA, and I don't know who I'm picking among Pinthwu and Chiron. I can replace them all with their class attackers, and the mats aren't that much of a problem. Oh my god, chat, stop moving! I can't even scroll up to read it! Blah blah blah, who would you choose? Also have a big 4. Also, I have the big 4, so please don't consider which one I have and which I don't. I mean, really, if you have the big 4, you don't really need any of them, to be honest. I would say Chiron is probably a lot less useful to you if you do have the big 4, because he's kind of a pseudo support. Although he works just fine with the big 4, so you have, like, the, you know, you've got your meta DPS, and he's running an archer or something, so Chiron does pretty good damage, and he benefits from a really strong support, and then he helps that other DPS out as well, then you can cycle him. So he's still fine, but I think he's a lot less useful. I think Wu is way less useful, because yeah, you could do Wu and Scatty, but you could also just do double Scatty. And yeah, you could do double Scatty and Wu, but normally there's better options than that. Wu is more like the stand-in if your friend has Scatty and you don't. But yeah, I don't really feel like you need any of those if you have the big four. If it was me, I would go with Penth because, you know, if you happen to not have other good berserkers, because maybe, I don't know, maybe you have Kualter, maybe you have Herc, I have no idea. But it's nice to have a berserker that works against like every class, you know, gets their NP quick, has damage up. That works well with Merlin and Waver and all that kind of nonsense. But yeah, I don't, honestly, from a pure gameplay perspective, I don't think you really need any of those things. So I would say just go with the one you like, really. Yeah, Wu hits okay, but I mean, so does 100 Face and Cheeky and you know, everything else. There's really not... The best thing about Wu, for real, is the fact that she's like a stand-in Scatty if your friend has Scatty and you don't, right? She works pretty well like that, and she does some nice damage on her own. But if you've got your own Scatty, I don't really think you need Wu. Like, yeah, you can make some uses out of her. You can make decent uses out of all three of those units. All three of those units, with or without the big four, you're gonna make, you know, decent use out of, and they all kind of synergize just fine with the big four. So I would just say it just comes down to, like, do you need a berserker or not, or like which ones do you need an assassin or not? Like, maybe you have no archers you like, right? Maybe you don't like Robin, you don't like Billy, you don't like those things, and you don't have any other gold ones. And so, like, yeah, I need a good archer. Then yeah, Chiron's fine. Chiron works just fine with, you know, he doesn't have to be a pseudo support. He can be a pure damage dealer as well. He's not the best at it, but he's good enough. So yeah, honestly, I would just say it comes down to what classes you need, and if you don't need any of them in terms of class and whatnot, then just go with whichever one you like best, because they're all good. Like, all three of them are good. I mean, like, if you have MP1 Atlanta Alter, you know, getting your MP2 is really good. You know, if you've already got a high rank of Medea Lily, I wouldn't even worry about that. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying the CE. We're incognito right now. See that? Fuck, why didn't I use Atlas? I lost track of what I was doing. Oh god, that's a misplay. Because not only did I bust her down there, but I take dot damage that I didn't need to take. I was just so zoned out, dude. Now we're just fucking up. Seriously though, like, so often I try to like curb people's, you know, expectations, because like the player base is going, oh my god, this thing is OP, when they're, you know, just like they're fine and not OP. But like, honestly, in terms of balance, I think I like where Himiko is. I think that, you know, she's good, she's not gonna be crap, she's, you know, if you want to make her work, you can, but she's not like, you know, completely game breaking or anything nonsense like that. But you can definitely enable her to get pretty crazy, but because you can enable anything to get pretty crazy. That's fine, so I think she's in a good place. I personally don't like her too much because, you know, just not my style and the voice acting and everything, right? But yeah, I mean, she seems totally usable. Because seriously, I don't think she excels that much in a solo, right? Her raw value is kind of not... doesn't work right here, like, but she's still getting good value, and you know, I know this game well enough that I know how to translate like what they're getting. You know, when I just look at their kit and I look at it, you know, their numbers in action and stuff, it's really easy for me to translate that to what it's more like in a team setting. And like, she's definitely good in a team setting. And who I really want to test out is Nobunaga too. Like, I know he's good. Like, again, I know this game well enough. It's like having a taunt and death manipulation, that's all really good. Even without Nobu, you know, he's got the Stargin, a decent crit buff, you know, it's only 20%, but it adds up, and you got the buster resist down. Like, you know, this is really good, right? But I already know there's certain styles of boss fight. I'm like, yep, you're absolutely going to be able to take advantage of this, and it's going to be really good. But there's also some situations where I can clearly see it's going to be kind of meh. And so I really want to I need like some proper boss fights that I can really, like, that I would want to bring a full team for, and you know, you're going to want to, you know, have supports and not, because, you know, some fights you don't even, for budget players, you don't even want a support. Like, that happens sometimes. You literally bring 6 DPS that are counterclassing or something, right? So I want her to live somehow to block the next NP with the invulnerability, but I don't think that's going to happen because our heal's on a 2-turn cooldown, so I think I just use it now. That sucks, but I don't think he's lacking at all without buffs. I think he's, if there's no Nobu, I think he's lacking in terms of like, you know, farming or something. But like, let me bring up his thing here, because I've seen people say that before, and I really disagree with that. And I think I know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to budget units, because I have so much experience with using them. Like, so I know what I'm comparing them to, right? Very well. It's not like I'm a Hans noob or a Qin Gong noob. Like, you know, I use those things constantly. All right, let's see here. I just looked up the wrong Nobu. Oh my god, wiki, please. Okay, so, you know, first, this I think is a really easy one to say that this is good, right? 30% buster resist down to all enemies, right? That's essentially 30% buster up to your teammates for 3 turns, and uniquely it'll apply to your back row, right? But it is weak against if enemies have debuff immunity, right? So it has some unique positives where it can actually help people that aren't on the field yet and things like that. So it's, in some ways that's better than buster up. But it does have unique negatives where if they have debuff immunity or something that you know, it won't work. So there's some unique pros and cons there. You know, it's not quite as reliable as Buster Up, but it allows you to do some things that otherwise you wouldn't. But overall, Buster Resist Down and Buster Up generally operate the same. You know, they've got some pros and cons here and there. And I guess, you know, Buster Up has the con of if they give you buff block, it won't work. Right, you can have buff block on you, but you can still apply a debuff to the enemy, right? Or if the enemy removes your buffs, they can't remove their own debuffs, right? So, you know, overall, Buster Up versus Buster Resist Down, they both have pros and cons. But, you know, all in all, he's basically giving the whole team 30% Buster Up for 3 turns. That's really easy to say that's good. Because, yeah, Qin Gong gives more Buster Up, but it's only for 1 turn and 1 unit. Shakespeare gives the whole team more Buster Up, but again, only for 1 turn. So this, because this lasts 3 turns, I think no one would say this skill in a vacuum is bad, right? On a support type unit, I think we can all say this is not lacking, right? I think we can all agree his first skill is not lacking. That's a, you know, 30% buster up, whole team, budget unit, lingers, that's good, that's fine. And as a bonus, you get the skill seal thing, which very niche, but there's some occasional times that's handy, but that's very niche, right? That's very niche. Okay, then the cooldown is 6 turns, which, you know, that's, I guess, a bit longer than you might like, but with the way his gameplay style is, that doesn't matter too much, but okay. All right, and then second skill, so 15 stars, you know, every turn for 3 turns, you know, that's on par with Hans and all that kind of stuff. So that's good, yeah, that's really nice. But again, Hans, you know, has that as well, but then he also has the NP gain, right, where No Bro here just has the 20% crit, right? Which I would say that's, overall, this is a bit behind, you know, Hans's equivalent. But, you know, being behind in one area is not like the end of the world. He's keeping up. You know, he's still making just as many stars. You know, it's not like the 20% crit is useless. It's fine. You're getting, especially with a Buster crit, if you Buster crit, he's increasing your damage by 50% there. That's fine. And, you know, that's enough stars that he's going to make critting much easier, right? So this is nice. But yeah, I would obviously say in terms of just wanting passive star gen for the team, you know, Hans is a bit better than that, like, clearly, right? But this is still good. No, like, this is not lacking. Like, this is blatantly not lacking. This is on par with, like, what else you have in terms of budget supports, right? This is really nice, and the fact that it has the 20% crit as a bonus is good, right? This is nice. And this right here is why I say he's absolutely not lacking. And, like, because I do budget stuff so much, I know how good this is. He has Taunt. This is so fucking good, right? Budget teams are just, I mean, Taunt is the best thing ever, right? It's like, it's so important. This is not just relevant occasionally. This is relevant so often, right? Him having a Taunt is super nice. Because taunts are so flexible, right? It allows you to throw the unit away very quickly if you want to, or you can save it so that you take an NP for you, right? Or you can just make sure, oh, let's make sure with this 1 turn my other unit doesn't get attacked, even if my taunt unit doesn't die, you know, it still, you know, buys me that time that I need, right? Like, that just taunt on a support unit is amazing. Why do you think Shakespeare plus Poster Girl is, like, one of the most common things ever for, like, 1 to 2 star setups? Right, it's because you're applying taunt to a support, and that allows you to blow all of their skills and then get rid of them, because now all their skills are on cooldown and they're not supporting you anymore, right? Their stuff's already done, it's already there, right? And then you bring in somebody else, and now you got even more, you know, that taunt on supports is amazing. So, and he's one of the only supports in the game that has a taunt like that. Now, Gong's is better, because Gong can slap it on himself and throw himself away, or you can slap it on someone else and throw them away, or maybe you have Hercules, and Hercules uses evade, and the enemy has a single target NP. Now you can guarantee that they hit Hercules, and no one takes damage, and you get the NP gain and stuff. So yeah, Gong's is better, but you know, Gong doesn't have the star gen thing, he doesn't have, you know, and then the other things we're about to talk about this guy, because then now he's got obviously the heal when he dies. It can be a bit awkward to have that actually go off when you want it to, so that you may or may not get value out of that. That's a big chunky heal, and it's definitely not a bad thing. You know, healing everybody for 3,000 is awesome. That's really good. Also has the NP gain rate, so it's pretty damn easy for this guy to get his NP if he has any kind of like starting NP on him or anything like that, or if you have waiver on the team or whatever the fuck. It's not hard to get this guy's NP. So maybe you taunt, take a chunk of normal card damage, probably really low in health because he's a 1-star, and then you use his NP and you just get rid of him. But all of his buffs linger, and there you go. And then so in total, you know, he's giving you a taunt, he's giving you a heal, a rather large heal, he's giving you star gen, quite a lot of it, a crit buff, not a great one, but a crit buff, and then a lot of buster up with the buster resist down, and then a niche with the skill seal, and then his NP is giving you a chunk of buster up, not that much, but again, it lingers for a long time, and it works with his debuff resist down, so it's in total, in total, he's giving you 40% buster damage for 3 turns, he's giving you the big heal, he's giving you the 20% crit buff, he's giving you stars, he's giving you taunt, and then the big thing, and I don't see how anyone can act like this is bad, he gives the team 20% NP battery. Do you realize how rare that is to just be like snap your fingers and your teammates get NP charge for budget units? That's so good. Like there's no, and because he has taunt and it makes it so easy for him to, you know, enable those things, that's super, super good. Right, like that he is a very good support. Like with no Nobu, that is a lot of value. 20% NP battery, 40% buster damage, 20% crit damage, a bunch of stars, a heal, a taunt. You know, that is blatantly good. There's no, you know, a lot of the other supports are really good too, right? But they're different. They don't have like what he has. And of course, there's gonna be times Hans is gonna be better. I would say Hans is better than him more times than not. But just because of the taunt alone, he has uses that are really, really good. Like, he's very good, and a lot of times you're gonna use him with Hans. Like, absolutely, you're gonna use him like with Hans or with Gong. Because if you cycle No Bro and you go into Gong, now you have another taunt, right? Like that, it's really good. It's really easy to kind of just keep the protection going with him and keep the buffs going, especially for like a Buster team, right? Like, I think Hans is blatantly the you know, the superior budget support overall, because he's not just for Buster, he's for everyone, right? He's just for everyone. Like that's obviously, I would say, better. But yeah, I don't think No Bro is lacking at all. I think he's a very solid 1-star support. I think you're definitely going to see him in low star stuff, like no question. And if you also have Nobu as a bonus, then it's really, really good. Like Nobu Berserker especially. I think Nobu Berserker, I think, is the best Nobu in the game. I think overall she's the most usable, and there's just a lot of situations you can get a lot of value out of her, and he synergizes with her the best. And so that combo is definitely really, really, really good. Like, no question, that combo is really, really, really good. Alright, with the damage cut, I'm hoping I just miraculously live here and like get one more turn. That'd be really nice, but we're living on the edge here. No critting! God damn it. He triple attacked and crit. Okay, well, she did do better, and I misplayed. Actually, I would have lived there if I hadn't misplayed. I seriously, if I hadn't misplayed earlier with not removing the dot and everything, we would have lived right there and gotten another turn. So yeah, and that's her at 888 NP1. So I mean, at NP5, you know, best command codes, good CE and everything, she probably can solo that, and that's undeniably good value, especially because she's a unit that gets less value in soloing than normal, than like a typical, like the difference that you would typically see. So I mean, no question, she has very good raw value, and she's, you know, I definitely think I underestimated her a bit yesterday. I do think she's good, but I don't think she's like, you know, better than Orion, you know, Super Orion, or like, you know, the top tier DPS. You know, she's no God Juno, like absolutely not. But definitely good, and definitely good enough that if you want to use her, it's not really going to be a problem. So, like, she good, but I don't think she's, you know, quite as broken as people seem to be trying to make her out to be. Yeah, if he didn't crit, didn't triple attack, or if I'd removed the dot earlier, like, we definitely could have kept going a little bit. And again, NP1 888, so He definitely is capable of soloing that. New Art Saber is really good. He's really straightforward. He's vanilla as hell, but he's like, he has what you want. You know, he hits hard, you know, has self-survival with evade. You know, he's just a straightforward nuker. He's very simple. He's very, very simple. But that's good. He does exactly what you want. And because his hit counts are good, and he's got the art resist down, you know, you can loop pretty easily. And you don't need Castoria to loop with him, right? You can loop with fucking Mozart, for God's sakes. He can loop on his own if he has art cards and stuff, so... very, very easy. Yeah, this event sucks so far. Like, it's so crap, dude. And, like, the pace at which you get, like, the things you need to build stuff is just, it's just bad, dude. And it sucks because I hate events like this because they make it really difficult to just, like, goof off. Because you're screwing yourself more than usual. Like, normally if I'm not bringing event CEs and I'm soloing or showing off, you know, just trying to do something silly, like make Ku do a bunch of damage or whatever, you know, you're not really screwing yourself that much. But with how like you can bring so easily, you can bring a full team of all event servants, you know, and if you're not doing that, you're really screwing yourself over, which sucks. Because so far, this has been one of my least favorite events, honestly, which is a shame because Guda Final is one of my favorite events. So, you know, good job on that one. Because, like, you can bring, like, a full team of people that make Clay drop, right? Like, it's pretty easy to do that. But, you know, it's boring. Let's do, fuck it, we'll use Castoria with, Saber Boy. We'll fight not Lancers. Well, we shouldn't fight Assassins, though. That's literally the worst thing to fight if you're trying to show off, like, any kind of loopability on a unit. You know, we'll fight Sabers. Because I feel like, you know, a lot of people might not have Castoria, but like everyone and their mother is going to like use Castoria typically if they're doing like art stuff these days. Now, obviously, we're not actually doing this to actually farm efficiently. If I was doing that, I'd want, you know, a degree of AoE or whatever. We're just gonna try to show off like kind of how you can get like really, you know, easy, you know, repeat value out of this guy. Let's see. Go something pretty standard. I could obviously do Waver, but I feel like let's not do that. Let's keep it simple, stupid, like nothing too fancy. Because everyone can have Castoria, but let's make everything else pretty reasonable. Because then you can obviously see if you've slapped in Waver on this, it'll be even better. I actually have enough 2030s now to limit break 2030, but then I wouldn't have a second copy of it. Oh yeah, I gotta bring Ku, because you always have to bring Ku. Even if he's not an event servant, I'm bringing Ku. I'll bring just 5 event servants, fuck it. Like, I've mostly been trying to bring like all event servants when I do this, like on off stream, but I still bring Ku. Gotta get that bond, man. It's very important. God, I'm so salty about the Gacha, man. Fucking 400 SQ, and it's just... Oh my god, the amount of CEs that I got and everything, I just wanted NP2, man. This is bullshit. I don't remember what this stage drops. I don't remember what servants you're supposed to bring. I'm literally, I don't care to look, because I'll just bring 2 whatevers and hope it works out. I'll look later. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Dude, I cannot believe how much I got the 5-star CE. Like, every pull, I'd get 2 or 3 copies of it, I swear to God. I'm exaggerating, obviously, because, you know, I pulled quite a lot with, you know, 400 SQ is a good number of pulls. But, like, this is stupid. How do you get this and 2 Himikos before you get 1 goddamn copy of the fucking 4-star? This CE that gives you 15% quick up, 15% art up, and then overcharge boost 1 time. Which is that's just not good. And if you're not gonna bring starting NP, right? Why would you want 15% like quick and art up when you could have like there's so many better options, right? Because you're mostly gonna focus on either quick or art, right? So then you're gonna want like if you're going pure numbers, you just formal craft or something, right? There's just and then you got Art of Death and K-Scope and like there's just no way you're gonna like this thing sucks and I got 2 of it. Like what? Like, I cannot believe I limit broke it twice in 400 SQ. And the only thing that went well in terms of like getting things that weren't the thing that I wanted was I did get a Valkyrie spook and a Pin spook, right? That was kind of nice. Look at this. Are you kidding me? How did I get more of that than the 3-star? Can someone explain this to me? How did I get more of the 5-star than I did the 3-star CE? That does not make any fucking sense. Also, I rolled like 500,000 FP and I got one of the CE, of the 3-star CE. I'm not exaggerating. I rolled, I think, over 500,000 FP because I wanted this like the CE XP, and it's fuck RNG. Yeah, that would be the answer. Fucking phenomenal. I really should bring Mozart if I wanted, like, or Hohenheim. Want to kind of keep the momentum going. We could definitely use something like that. Screw event drops. They needed a filter on this screen where you can filter by rarity. I would just like click 1 star. Like, seriously, I have so many servants now that definitely at that point where I would like a filter like that. I can level up his other skills, I just don't see the need yet, so haven't bothered. Alright, obviously it makes no sense to NP on this turn, but we're gonna. I don't actually think we use his first skill right now. I feel like that's not necessary. Napoleon on JP is pretty good. You know, again, he's you know, not like some, oh my god, this is so amazing, but he's totally usable, does fine, like no problem, good unit. And on NA, he's definitely better on JP, but I mean, he's pretty solid. Actually, I would say Arjuna's better, depending on what you're doing. Like, they're apples and oranges. Like, in terms of like straight nuking, a lot of times Napoleon will be better. But Arjuna is way more survivable, and it's you know, Arjuna is one of the best DPS units in the game for anti-debuff. Like, it's just insanity how much anti-debuff he has, and there's entire boss fights that are like nothing but debuffs, right? So it's like that's very good. Like, Arjuna is so underestimated in my opinion because he throws out absolutely good damage. He can double NP rather easily. You know, and then as a bonus, he just has massive soft survivability and massive anti-debuff. Like, he does very, very well. Not that Napoleon doesn't have good stuff going for him too. He absolutely does, but. I don't know why I did that. I don't really need that right now, but I wasn't really thinking about it. But actually, I think we might get a triple kill here. That I wish the Chimera was not where he is right now. Well, we'll try. Might not work. Well, I mean, right now, I'd say most people hype up, I'd say Ishtar the most for AoE Archer, I would say. Like, there are times Gil's better, especially if you're fighting, like, a bunch of enemy servants, specifically. But you know, Ishtar's kind of been the one people focus on these days. But it's like, you know, it's Ishtar and Gil. No, he's got it, I think. Feels good. Like, if you know, Gilgamesh's you know, NP effect is, you know, really unique and is really strong, right? And because of that, if you're fighting a lot of, you know, mini servants, you know, Gil is kind of uniquely good at being an AoE unit. But in terms of like straight damage, a lot of times Ishtar is the best. Might look weird to cast that, but I mean, it's like, it's gonna get the job done. This is gonna be silly. Let's see. Might not quite be enough, we'll see. Need more DMC music? Yeah, probably. That's funny, his walk is actually different in this stage. He's not holding the katana. I thought they'd have him just hold the katana on every stage. He almost had it there. But yeah, you know, he's really straightforward. You know, he loops easily, does single target damage, also has crits and lots of damage up skills, and has an evade skill. So he's very, very vanilla, but he works really well. But yeah, I've seen some people say he's literally the best art saber now, and I'm like, that's just silly. Like he's good, like he's very good, and he has very good synergy with, you know, art supports, you know, from Castoria to Mozart, Hohenheim, all that. So he's very good. But I mean, Nero Bright exists for God's sakes. And then, like, for challenge quests, I definitely prefer Sitting Master. Though, you know, they're both good. I think Lancelot, Sitting Master, and Hajima, you know, not Virgil, all have their place. They all work really well. They're all flexible enough that, like, it's almost never make or break, but they each have their own, you know, situations where they're slightly better than each other. So, like, honestly, they're good. Yeah, I'll try to play some Impact tonight. Apparently, in 1.1, they're getting ready to allow you to convert your AP into apples if you're not planning on using it. I love that. Because in the long run, you don't get more AP, right? You don't. It doesn't convert at a ratio where you're like gaining AP or anything. But it allows you to, like, you know, I can't really play today, but, you know, I can play tomorrow. You can, you know, carry it over to then. And it's amazing for streamers, right? Because when you're not streaming, you're not necessarily going to, you know, care so much about using your AP. But when you're streaming, you want to be able to do a lot at once, right? If you want to play with chat or show something off, or, you know, that's so nice for streamers, right? Like if I'm wanting to do a bunch of co-op with people, you know, I can stockpile my apples and then, you know, like kill a bunch of bosses and everything. Like, that's really nice. That was a good move on their part. I'd love it if FGO would do that. I'm not gonna like level that much, because right now where I'm at, I don't feel like I need to level at all, right? I'm level 30 for God's sakes. I'm not using fancy artifacts. I'm using 3-star stuff, you know. It's like, it's totally fine. And so I'm just gonna wait and see, you know, what happens when they add more stuff. If I need to upgrade, then I'll upgrade. The AP is different in Genshin, where it doesn't dictate if you can do things or not. There's just like specific content where if you want to obtain the loot, you use your AP, right? It's just like AP in FGO, where it regenerates over time and blah, 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 and you can use apples to bring it back. But you don't need it to like start a dungeon or fight a boss or whatever. But if you want their loot, you use your AP, right? So if you want to fight those bosses just for fun and not use your AP, you can, which is good. But then yeah, if you're wanting to like, you know, fight a boss a bunch or whatever, get the loot over and over again, you got to use your AP on it. But yeah, they've given out a good number of apples, but then yeah, if you want to start converting your AP each day into apples and hold on to it for later, you can. So that's awesome. I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, these missions seem like, you know, more like checkpointy. Feel like you're not going to do all 30 missions, you know, right away. Yeah, there's been data mines that suggest there's going to be a part 2. Like, that bad guy dude, his sprite has been data mined and whatnot. You know, of course, people could be lying, but like what they've shown, I don't think they're lying. Like the data, like they literally showed his sprite, and it doesn't absolutely does not look fan made or anything, right? Like so it's probably there probably is a part 2. It looks kind of cool, but I'm not gonna roll for him unless he has like an ascension stage where he like starts getting green flame and you know, that kind of thing. You know, probably not gonna happen. I don't mind him though. He looks cool, but I'd rather put my SQ towards not Virgil, and now I need to save my SQ again. I'm lower on SQ than I would have liked. I really am. I wouldn't have minded like using maybe 100 SQ, 200 SQ, but I ended up using like 400, and that was definitely more than I wanted to use. And you know what would have made it all worth it, chat? That I would even complain. I would have been like, fuck it, I'll use 500 SQ, right? Like if I had gotten spooked by Hercules or Beowulf, then I'd have been like, oh, this is fine, right? Because I'd probably rather have those than whatever they're going to add in Lost Belt 6, right? So it's like, no problem. But, I got spooked by Valkyrie, which I like Valkyrie, but she was already a high NP rank, so I'm like, Yeah, there's like that dude in like the story right now. He got data mined like his in-game sprite. I don't know what that guy's name is. I didn't look, but he's like, he's been showing up in the story. I'm surprised so many people didn't know about this. Here, I can find it. And it could be fake. People have claimed data mines before and they're fake, but a lot of times they're not. And then this one just doesn't look fake to me. Like it doesn't seem. I mean, it could be. It could be. You never know. But because this guy's actually in the story, the amount of time someone would have to make this is so short. I don't think it's fake, right? Because it's, we didn't know this guy was going to be in the story until like, 2 days ago, right? There we go. But like, someone would have made that sprite in 2 days. I don't think so, right? Either that or they had like prior knowledge that he was going to be in this event, but I don't think so. Like, I really don't think so. Yeah, it could be boss only. The way that's ripped, who knows? So yeah, there's definitely a chance that he's boss only. But it does kind of seem like there's going to be a part 2. I don't know though. I guess I don't know if they were able to mine like other ascensions. Like if that's literally the only sprite that he has, then maybe it is boss only. That it could be boss only, and then maybe there isn't a part 2. So that's a possibility as well. He is cool though. I do like him. He's very cool. Like, if this event gives a couple more summon tickets, I'll throw the summon tickets at him so we can get a YOLO. But I am not using any more SQ right now. I need to, unless the only way I'm gonna use SQ before like Lost Belt 6 is if they add something I super want. I will say I'm not nearly as hyped for Lost Belt 6 anymore. Like, so I'm not necessarily holding out my SQ for that. I might blow my load before that if they add something that I really like, because I really don't have much faith in Lost Belt 6 anymore actually adding stuff. I think it'll probably add a thing or two that I like. Like, I like the Lancer that they showed off and stuff. And certainly there's still a chance that they might add something like Vortigern or whatever, but I don't really think so. It doesn't seem that way. So I'm happy to wait till Lost Belt 6, but if they added like Butch Cassidy or something, tomorrow, I'm gonna roll on that, like, because I like that about as much as anything that they would add in Lost Belt 6 anyway, so. Assuming he had a good design. But yeah, for right now, I'm waiting for Lost Belt 6 because there's nothing else that I know is coming, but I'm not necessarily holding out for that, we'll just see. And I'm not gonna lie, if I blew my load and they added Green Knight and I lagged Green Knight, that's one of the few things that would get me to spend money. But I can't see anything actually taking 1,600 SQ from me. And I basically have 1,700, right? I basically have 1,700. And I have plenty of time before they add other things, so, I'll get my SQ back up there a bit. I doubt they would add any one thing that I would actually roll all, 1,800 or whatever I'd have at the time. That's very unlikely, so I'll have some left over. And I still have my ult account too. Like my ult account is like maybe 600 SQ right now or something. I mean, if they made Green Knight a trap, I obviously would not roll for that most likely, unless they just still had a god tier design. But aesthetically, traps aren't normally a god tier design in my opinion. Maybe there's one out there where they would have a good design, but I can't think of any traps that's ever been made that I'm like, yeah, I really like this design. It's not really a thing. I mean, generally, saving is so easy for me because they normally go so long without adding stuff that I do want, and when they add stuff that I want, it's normally 4 stars or 3 stars, and they don't normally take as much. Like with Calamity Jane or whatever, I don't need them at NPU 5. They're not like my favorite character or anything, so it's, it's not a big deal. Who the frick was Ruka? I don't even remember. Wasn't that a reverse? See, reverse traps are normally different because reverse traps, they don't normally... They don't handle them the same way, right? I don't know why, but like generally when they make a male trap, they basically have them dress like a female almost completely, if not exactly completely. They get a female voice actress. You know, they're just they make them very girly girl, but then they just happen to be a guy, and maybe they slightly draw like their mouth a little bit different and like their eyebrows a little bit different, and that's it. Right? They basically make a girly girl character, which I don't like anyway. It is like if Trapface was a female, I wouldn't like him, right? Because I don't like that design. I don't like that kind of aesthetic, right? It's just not my cup of tea, right? When they make like female traps, they don't normally do that, right? They don't get a male voice actor to voice them, right? They don't draw them like what's it, Guile from Street Fighter. They don't do that. Right? When they make a male trap, they design them as a girly girl, straight up. When they make a female trap, they don't do that. They don't make him a manly man, right? So it's like they're not in the same boat in terms of like design and voice acting and all of those things, right? So it biases them, right? So I mean, and what does happen? They just don't get called traps. There definitely are male characters that are still, you know, they're voiced by men. They're still obviously male. But they're a bit more effeminate, right? Those don't normally get called traps, and that's more of the equivalent of what you see out of female traps, right? They're not actually traps. They don't draw them like men. They don't voice them with men, right? It's like there's I can think of so many male characters that are still voiced by men, or still, you know, but they're, you know, like, you know, Bedivere is actually a good example. Even, you know, they're more like pretty boys, but they're still blatantly men, right? That is absolutely the equivalent to what they do for female traps, right? Because, you know, if you actually wanted a proper equivalent for female traps, you would get a male voice actor and you know, draw them like Guile and all these, but they don't do that. So, you know, the male trap is a fairly unique thing in terms of how they actually handle it, and it's, you know, kind of nonsense, but yeah, it doesn't, like most traps, most male traps that they make, it's not that they're male, or female. I just don't like that kind of design. I don't, it's not my cup of tea. I have no motivation to play this event. It's so rare that I feel this way, but I have zero motivation to play this event. I don't care about the rewards. I don't care about the story. I hate how you farm it. I hate events like this where you like, it's so obnoxious, right? There's a million different like drops, and every different servant is a different bonus for every different thing. I hate these events. And if it was like hard, I might care, but it's not even hard. This is like my least favorite style event on so many fronts, because not only do I hate the way they do bonus drops in this event, and this event is boring, and there's literally no bosses. There's no bosses. You know, Guda Final was loaded with fun bosses to mess around with. There's nothing in this event. But then it's also a damage event. I fucking hate damage events because, one, it makes the player base act like morons, because, you know, they add Awawa to the game, and then because she's a bonus servant, everyone thinks she's amazing because people literally can't, you know, they don't see the difference between, you know, doing bonus damage and not for some fucking reason. And then it makes like scaling for challenge quests awful because, you know, they're scaling around, you know, bonus CEs and bonus servants, and that limits your team comp options for like free-to-play people like so much, right? I fucking hate these. It just sucks because, you know, FGO has been dead for so long to me because they just haven't been doing anything, like literally nothing. And it's not like, oh, I'm so done with FGO. It's more like I've been like wanting good stuff. I've been dying to really get in there and play FGO like the good old days, and they're just not doing anything. Like they finally give us an event and it's this? Like it's this? Like this just sucks. Like I absolutely do not want to play this event. Like I cannot stand, I mean, look at this shit. Look at this. Like, I hate events like this. These are all event drops, and every fucking, like, half the servants in the game all have a different bonus that makes it, like, I don't want to, like, this is stupid, right? I don't want to bring a giant-ass team of all these, you know, and change it every fucking stage to, like, it just, God, it's so obnoxious. And I mean, one thing, again, if the content was hard, but it's not. It's a bunch of boring-ass, you know, like, there's literally not even side bosses. You know, Guda Final was just full, like, if you wanted to go fight bosses, there were plenty of bosses to fight, and it was, you know, it was really nice. And this is just like, nope, there's just nothing. Now there's 6 currencies in this. There's only 3 currencies for the shop, but there's 6 currencies for this event. And, you know, and a lot of those are for the, you know, the building and bullshit. But it's like all the CEs, you know, get bonus drops to different things, different servants get different bonus drops to different things. It's so annoying Like, and again, no matter the style of the event, I always like damage bonus events less than every other event in terms of just like its design. Like, especially for like trying to do a budget team for the challenge quest, your team options are so much worse than normal. Like, I honestly can't stand it. Like, every time they do this, and they're doing it all the time now, and I think it's because they've discovered they make more money when they do this. There must be because they used to not do these kind of events very often, but they are doing them so much now. And they've clearly like found a way. And I'm not surprised because it's making me play differently, right? When they don't do a damage based event, like we have a damage CE, I don't farm the CE drop until like the last day, and because I might just happen to get it through natural means, right? So I don't need apples, right? And so if I get to like the last day or two and I'm like, wow, I just haven't naturally gotten a CE drop. Okay, now I'll use apples, and then just use the apples until I get the CE drop. But when there's a fucking damage CE, I can't do that because then I won't have the damage CE ready for the challenge quest. And because I'm doing budget stuff, you absolutely need it, and you probably need it on my other account too. So I have to do this on 2 accounts. And I just can't stand it. I have no fun when they make events like this because I have to farm a damage CE ahead of time and throw apples at the screen constantly on 2 of my accounts to make sure I have 2 of the damage CE ready to go if I want to do a budget setup and the challenge quest happens to be really, really hard, right? And sometimes the challenge quest isn't really, really hard. But if the challenge quest happens to be like balls to the walls hard, you know, I need to already have farmed the CE drop on 2 of my accounts and wasted a bunch of apples. Like, I'm so sure they're doing this on purpose because they've done it. I mean, like, I think like literally the last like 3 or 4 new events have all been damage CE events, and I absolutely hate it. Like, it's been fucking awful, and like they're doing it so much more than they used to that I absolutely think they found like, oh, this, you know, we just happen to make a bit more money this way because I don't know, whales reset their AP more or whatever. Like, whatever the fucking reason is, they seem to be doing it on purpose. And not only do I have to farm, like, you know, more in a short period of time instead of spreading it out over the full duration of the event, it makes your team options a lot worse, right? A lot of times, I say this every goddamn stream, but it's like a lot of times budget teams are not able to do the whole like 1 DPS 5 support style of setup. That normally does not work. It's, you know, that just doesn't, their supports aren't as strong, and like they're not gonna, each unit's not gonna live as long and things like that. You normally need multiple DPS. You know, a lot of times budget teams end up being 6 DPS or 5 DPS and 1 support, or like, you know, 3 DPS and like 1 support and 2 taunts, right? That's so common to be the kind of setup that you need for a budget team. When the only DPS that can work are that will do enough damage to matter are DPS that are equipped with an event CE. You're not able to make setups like that anymore. Like, damage CE events super incentivize putting all your eggs in one basket. It super incentivizes only having 1 DPS and 5 supports, because then that 1 DPS is got that, you know, massive damage up, and the stage is, you know, scaled around that. That just makes team comp options way more boring than normal, right? It's just lame. Like, it objectively makes their options for boss design smaller, right? And then when you have event servants on top of it, it's like, for God's sakes, if you're using Himiko with the damage CE, she's gonna have plus 200% damage bonus, right? That is absurd, right? Like, and so like her compared to literally everyone else is so different, and it just sucks. Like, I fucking hate these events. I have to waste way more apples than normal. I have to, you know, and I have my team comp options for the challenge quest are more limited than normal, and it's just, and then the event itself is not even fun, because like, it's not like Fate Requiem was fun. Like, that event sucked too, and Summer 5 wasn't very fun either. I can't, when was the last time I actually enjoyed an event in this fucking game, right? It's been so long since we've had, because then we had, you know, normally when we have Gilfest, you know, that's normally a good time, and we normally have a bunch of boss fights, right? We didn't get Gilfest, we didn't get Nero Fest, we didn't get Romulus Fest, you know, we got Fire Emblem, and we got no challenge quests at all, right? It's just like, oh, she gets 300% damage bonus, excuse me. Anyway, but yeah, it's like, this sucks. This is like the longest period of time I've ever had in FGO, where they're just like, I do agree Summer 5 is better than this, but it wasn't amazing. This is the longest period of time I think we've ever had where they're just doing nothing. Like, I mean, they're just doing nothing. Like, I have so little motivation to do this. Like, it just sucks. And I've been wanting to play FGO really bad. I am so in the mood right now to sit down and mess around with Nobugatsu and all that kind of shit and stuff, but I can't, right? Like if we have those side bosses from Guda Final, I'll be like, yeah, some of these I could definitely, you know, use them on and see how it works. I didn't really enjoy Hagfest that much. I mean, it was okay. It's better than this, but it wasn't that good. I mean, once you beat the Fire Emblem stage once, they didn't really have any replay value, and there was nothing else to do in that event, right? You just had this like gimmicky side mode that wasn't done super well, but it was kind of fun. But there was no challenge quest, there was no final boss, there was no typical team play, there was no, you know, it was, you know, definitely better than this, but you know, compared to Guda Final, compared to Gilfest, compared to Nero Fest, compared to Setsubun, I mean, Hagfest wasn't even close to those. Like, if I'm going to name, like, my top 10 favorite events, it's not going to be in the top 10. It's probably not going to be in the top 15. Probably not going to be in the top 20. It's definitely going to be ahead, though, of, you know, the... God, if you guys going to do, like, a list of all the bad events, that list would be really big. It's one of the only events... Actually, I think it is the only event that didn't have a challenge quest in the last, like, 3 years. Yeah, but like I don't want a new game mode that you can play for a week and never again, right? That doesn't do me, especially when it wasn't very fleshed out. Like you could see the potential, you know, there, but it wasn't very good. It was almost good, and if you twinked it, it could be good. But it was like, yeah, hey, it's something different to do for like a week, and then you don't ever get to do it again. Like, whoop-de-doo. The song is absolutely not familiar. Is this worse than Summer 3? Honestly, right now, yes. Like, for me, it is. Because at least with Summer 3, it was Summer 3 sucks and it's very tedious and very repetitive. But, like, the kind of farming was very straightforward and you could kind of just autopilot it. You know, this is, like, really tedious, but it's not fun tedious. It's just super fucking tedious and you're I cannot believe this! Like, it's not like there's any uniform to who gives what drop bonus. Right? And then when you have literally this many drops and every servant gives one drop, it's like, why the fuck do I want to do this over? Like it's just dumb. And the event's not hard. The rewards aren't good. Like this is this sucks. I honestly think this might be my least favorite event other than like Go West, the original. The Go West rerun I think is better than this, but from what I've seen, I never played Go West original. But what I've seen of what Go West original was like, that is just, I mean, that is just cancer. And like NA doesn't realize this, but NA never got the original Go West. Your all's Go West was the rerun. Your original Go West was the rerun, and then your rerun was also the rerun. The Maze event was definitely worse in the way it played. Like in terms of, you know, a technical side, the original Maze event was unbearable. I mean, that was just absurd. But after they patched it, it was definitely better. Like I still didn't like the rerun of the Maze event, but I mean, I have never been so demotivated to play this game. Like I'm honestly surprised at how demotivated I am to play right now because I've been like so wanting to play FGO for quite a while. And this event is just so bad, I cannot have any fun with it. And I'm not sitting here like, oh yeah, guys, I want to think about and switch up my servants to match the drops and look at what the drops are and try to like I don't remember what a single fucking servant bonus drop is because of course I don't. I mean, because they all give all this. There's so many mats and there's a million bonus servants and they all only give one drop bonus. I don't remember what a single one of them gives. I think Columbus gives like the black log, maybe. It's either that or the white log. I don't know, right? I don't want to check every fucking stage to line up the drops and then do some boring ass fucking, you know, bullshit. Like I'm so not. And then like if I don't want to spend 30 of my apples to get the event CE to drop. I literally just don't care. Like I just cannot be bothered with this kind of event anymore. Like I'm so disappointed in DW. I cannot believe how badly they've been managing this game over the last year. It's just shocking to me. Like when was the last time we had a challenge quest, right? It was like, I guess the summer event. Like literally, I think the last challenge quest we had was the summer event. Right, that was like, what, 3 months ago now, or 2 months ago? Like, that's ridiculous. And that wasn't even that good of a challenge quest. It was okay, right? But even that wasn't that great. And then before that, we had fucking Requiem, right? Like, it's just, this has been so shitty. We haven't had a new main story in like 7 months again. And we have no signs of getting another one. You know, this is gonna be another year where we get 2 new main stories. That's my favorite time in FGO, is when we get a new main story. That's like by far my favorite time in FGO. You know, I have so much fun when they add new stories. And they used to add like 3 or 4 main stories a year, right? Now we barely get 2 a year. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? I don't even remember what the challenge quest for Summer 5 was, to be honest. I swear it had one. No, wasn't Paul... no, yeah, that was Summer 5. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking the Eric Blood Axe Paul one wasn't Summer 5 for some reason, but yeah, no, it was that one. For some reason, I was thinking that was like an event. I was seriously thinking Paul and Blood Axe were like an event right after Summer for some reason, but no, that was probably the last one. Which was okay. I mean, I had fun in that for sure, but what was before that then? I'm getting something conflated in my head right now. But dude, they're so obsessed with always making sure they put out a main story in December. Like, if they did like their typical pacing, and I noticed this, it got to the point where it got lined up where if they kept doing like 3 stories a year, they wouldn't really be able to put one in December, right? They'd have one like 2 months before December, and the next one would be like, you know, a few months after December. So whenever that happens, they just don't do that story that would land before December, and they just don't do it until December, right? And that almost always means we only get 2 stories per year now. Yeah, Summer 4 is Fumo, but that was a rerun of you know, we already had that one. That was a fun challenge quest though. And then I guess it was Requiem, which I don't remember that one either. Oh yeah, dude, that was the one with the ghosts, and that was fun. Actually, I like that one. Whenever they actually give us challenge quests, they're pretty fun. I mean, I haven't been disappointed in a challenge quest in a while, to be honest. Like, that's not really the issue, but you know, they've just been giving us almost none. This sucks, man. It's not like I'm not in the mood to play FGO. I'm very much in the mood to play FGO. I just want to play bosses. I want to do, like, fun content. That's why I liked Guda Final. Dude, Guda Final was so good, man. There's so many bosses in that. And they ran the spectrum in difficulty, so you could, you know, kind of do solos and do team, and then do serious teams, non-serious teams, budget, you know, and then you have, like, you know, using the event C and not using the event C and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know, I seriously might... I'm about to go... I think I'll do that next stream. I think next stream for FGO, I might seriously just start playing the story again. Like this is garbage. Like this event is garbage. I'm gonna get this apple, but like this event is so fucking lame. I'm honestly shocked at how bad this is. Like after all this time, this is what we get. Like some absolute boring shovelware that is unbelievably tedious, but not in like any unique or interesting way. Like just fuck off. I'm just gonna use Sanson for God's sakes. I haven't played Arknights in forever, but like I never feel pressured to play Arknights. I can go back to it and play it whenever I want. It's not when you know, FGO, it's like if you miss the events, you miss all the challenge quests, and you don't get to do anything fun, right? With Arknights isn't like that. You can go back and play that game anytime. At least the main story you can play in FGO anytime. I tell you, man, FGO is really starting to piss me off though. Like the way the developers handle it, it's just garbage. Like it's so unprofessional, and it's just, you know, it's not what I want out of a developer, out of a game I'm playing. Like, no way. Like, I'm not a fan. And it's been like this for like a year now, where they're phoning so much shit in. I mean, they're phoning so much shit in. Did they just remove my taunt? Oh, joy. Like, you know, they do the fucking, you know, command code change, and they can't be bothered to make the UI actually work, right? It's just like, are you kidding me? Oh, I didn't use taunt. Good enough. I'm like delirious right now. Cat, you don't need to say it 30 times. I got it. I mean, I don't spend money on this game, but it doesn't really... You're never going to get people to stop spending money on this game, because so many people are just happy with the JPEGs, apparently. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't get why all the other games are starting to put in more effort than ever, right? Like, it's a lot of the other games are putting in more effort than ever, and FGO is putting in less than ever. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's just stupid. And what I'm worried about is whenever the FGO starts failing, instead of them putting effort into it, they'll just be like, okay, time to move on to the next thing. This isn't profitable anymore. I think they're more likely to do that, to be honest. Like, there's so much I like about this game. That's why, you know, I'm so annoyed, right? Like, there's a lot of games where I'm like, oh, this is a terrible business model, and these devs are lazy as fuck. I'll just play something else, right? But I really like FGO. You know, when there are good bosses, they're great. And I like the characters, I like the universe and the story and everything. Like, there's so much stuff that I do like. But these last, like, year and a half or so, it's just been so bad, dude. It's been so obvious. Like, the amount... And like we get like no welfares, and like the welfares are really lazy, and there's been, you know, less challenge quests than ever, there's less events than ever. They've never, I cannot believe we've gone this long without like a new game mode that's permanent. You know, how do we not have a challenge tower? That's such a standard thing. Yeah, Arknights is doing a lot of stuff, Genshin is a thing, all these things. You know, Genshin hasn't been out long enough for me to really have an opinion about how they run it. You know, we're gonna have to see. You know, it takes time to kind of see, you know, do they add new game modes? Do they add new content? Do they, you know, add new mobs? Do, you know, how that game, you know, plays out in the long run, we'll just have to see. The Arcade's been trying harder than ever, but again, they're a different developer, so, you know, that's a different thing. Yeah, like, I still think FGO holds up in certain departments to other games. Like, they handle 1 to 3 stars better than other games. You know, their main story's got a lot of really fun content in it. You know, their artists are really good. There's a lot of things that FGO, you know, does hold up really well on. But when it comes to, like, looking at all these other games being innovative and making new game modes and making, you know, the gameplay better and things like that, FGO's not holding up well. Like, they're really not. And although FGO's profits have gone down quite a bit, like if you look at like, you know, they're not #1 in the charts all the time, right? But they're still consistently in the top 10. I mean, they're still consistently in the top 10. And like, it's honestly just mind-blowing to me that a game developer, how they've been acting over this last, you know, year, 2 years, how the fuck that translates into you being in the top 10 of the charts every month is just shocking to me. I don't understand how they can be making that much money when I just have never seen a game be this successful and be phoning it in this hard. Like, it's crazy. They're not always first. Like, they still have months sometimes where they're the #1, like, most profitable app. But normally they're in like the top 5. But they're not #1 that often anymore, to be honest. They definitely are from time to time, though, when they have like a really popular, you know, unit come out, or you know, they rerun Merlin or whatever. But yeah, a lot of it's because, you know, well, the thing is, like, their writers are fine, their artists are fine, their voice actors are fine, their boss design is fine. Like, there's loads of reasons. Like, yeah, this is cool, right? But there's so much wrong here. They were 3rd in August with Castoria. That's pretty bad, to be honest. Although some of that, I gotta say, is because they gave out so much free SQ. Like, if they hadn't given out so much free SQ, they probably would have been higher. Because so many players got Castoria for free. Like, literally, they gave out enough free SQ to give you a 50-50 shot at getting her. And then a lot of people already had SQ saved up. So, a lot of people didn't need to spend any money there. I agree. I think Lost Belt 5-2 is the best content in FGO, and it's actually some of the best content I've seen in a game like this. That was such good content, very well paced, really good music. The story was really good. You know, the boss fights were great, and its pacing was just phenomenal, man. They didn't have any like filler garbage. It was, you know, every single, you know, combat arrow was interesting. There was not a single one that was filler, right? There were obviously some that weren't like major bosses, but they weren't filler. You never fought like 9 trash mobs in 3 waves, right? They never did that. You know, it was great, and all the boss gimmicks were unique and made you play very differently. Like, the way you fight Demeter is nothing like how you fight, you know, Talos, and it's nothing like how you fight Aphrodite, and how you fight her is nothing like you fight Zeus. They were all completely unique boss fights that promoted different gameplay styles, and there was generally more than one way to approach each of them. And that was great. Not that you can replay it, obviously. Like, if I could go replay, but I would, seriously, if we had story replay, I'd go fight Demeter right now. People are always bitching about Demeter. I'd love to, like, you know, hammer out some other setups for her and try to make, like, the Alexander Ushi setup work better and shit like that. But I can't do that. Because, see, now I can see the drops. You know, now I have to figure out, you know, which servants You know, drop the fucking black log, not the white log. It's gotta be like the black log thing. I will say, I would if we had story replay, I would fight Zeus again from time to time. I wouldn't fight him like super often because one, you don't want to get, you know, you want to keep it special. Also, that fight is in a way frustrating. It works because it's not supposed to be something you do all the time. It's supposed to be incredibly hard, right? But like, that's a fucked up fight, man. And there's a lot of nuance you have to remember that you're not going to remember every time you do it. And then there's absolutely RNG in that fight with like them auto switching on their own and shit like that. And then maybe when they're available, you happen to get a bad deck and things like that. There is absolutely RNG in that fight, and so that's one you want to be like, okay, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna do Zeus, right? You don't just do Zeus casually once, especially trying to be more budget, right? Because when you're more budget, the RNG is gonna come into it more, right? And that kind of thing. So it's gonna be like a whole ordeal trying to beat Zeus again. Like, even though I've already beaten him and I know how he works pretty well, I've definitely forgotten some of the nuance. Like when I was making the video, I remembered every little thing about his AI. I don't remember all of it anymore, right? And then I might get bad RNG, and then so it's like it's gonna take a second to kind of figure out what the hell you're doing again. It's gonna make a whole thing, and that's good, right? But you don't want to be like, okay, guys, we got time to do one boss. Let's go do Zeus, right? No, you don't. You do Zeus when it's like, okay, this is gonna be the Zeus stream, and we're gonna figure this out again, right? That's how Zeus is, and that's how he should be, though. That's fine. Zeus should be something you need to, take seriously, because he's a big boy. Honestly, Demeter I think is easier to sit down and do. Like, she's pretty demanding in terms of like what you need, but like there's almost no RNG one in the Demeter fight. She follows a set pattern. Like, she literally casts skills in a set order. It's not random. Like, she does quick charge in a set order, and she does the damage cut in a set order. Like, it's all very ABC what goes down. So there's some RNG like if you crit or not and stuff like that, but mostly it's about just finding the right kind of setup and then playing it right. I think they might do story replay when they finish 2.0, because 2.0 and 1.0 are probably going to be really disconnected from what 3.0 is, and so they're going to want people to be able to go back and play 1.0 and 2.0, because 3.0 is going to like a whole different focus in terms of story and everything. So I think they're either going to do it on an anniversary or they're going to do it when 2.0 is over. And I have a feeling that the reason they didn't do it for the 5th year anniversary and stuff is they probably decided when they're going to do it, I feel like. Or they decide that they're never going to do it, one of those two things. Yeah, no, Olympus was not super popular. Although, honestly, being 7th isn't that bad because, I mean, how many singularities are there now? I mean, holy fuck, because we've got all of 1.0 and then Epic of Remnant, and then we got a lot of nonsense, and a lot of people haven't played it yet, for God's sakes. People are always so slow about playing singularities. It's crazy. There's loads of people that have not actually done Olympus yet. But yeah, I mean, some people didn't like it because it was really hard and stuff. I've seen plenty of that. Also, for Japan, because the popularity polls are obviously going to be favored towards it. I don't remember what the order was, but I guarantee you Shimosa is probably higher than Olympus. But most of the people voting in that poll are going to be Japanese, so big fucking surprise. I'm not sure how all that Greek mythology stuff really. I don't know how popular that's even going to be in Japan. But yeah, a lot of people. But it's, again, being 7th is not that big of a deal because there's so many singularities now, and also there's the nostalgia effect, because I would imagine Camelot's really high and Babylon's probably really high, because those were kind of the original really good singularities, so they're probably rather high. Let's see, what else would probably be high. Some of the Epic Remnants are probably decently high. I'm surprised that's second. That's really weird, because that's really weird. Why would that be second? Like, in terms of gameplay, it was pretty dull, honestly. But in terms of I liked its story, right? And it was pretty intriguing, but it mostly just got me excited for part 2, right? Because I thought all the stuff with Wadim and Canis was interesting, and all the build up with Zeus was interesting. But like the actual unfolding of like all this stuff with the immediate danger stuff wasn't that great. I mean, it was fine. I enjoyed Hector showing up and all that stuff. I'm surprised it was that high. I gotta say though, Babylonia is so biased. There's no, like, if you take the poll at different times, I think Babylonia would fluctuate. The anime is a massive part of why Babylonia would be so high, right? Like after the Camelot movies, if they're done well, the movies are good, and you immediately did a poll right after the Camelot movies, Camelot's going to be higher than it was. I guarantee it, right? If they make like a big fancy proper Shimosa anime, same deal, you know, like that's so common. Like I've seen when they made like a proper Fate Zero anime and Inland Blade Works anime, that started affecting like where they were on polls and stuff. That's just always how it is. I mean, his name's not Japanese. I don't know why I have to explain this to people. Like, the Japanese don't pronounce names the way we do, obviously, right? And a lot of that's because they can't. But like, you know, they don't, you know, have you heard them say Jane, right? Or Bob? You know, it's not the same, right? Like, obviously. Lost Belt 3 solo. What was Lost Belt 3? That was China. I'm not surprised by that one. I'm not surprised that one wouldn't do. But again, if you did a poll in a different area, it'd probably be a lot higher. I did not like Lost Belt 3 though in terms of story. Never mind aesthetic, gameplay, any of that. I think Lost Belt 3's story is awful. Like it sucks. Like it has like no like really good antagonist presence through most of it, which I think is a problem. It doesn't. Like it's not interesting. It's just dull, man. Like that is definitely one of my least favorite stories. It's my least favorite of like the new school stories, right? Obviously, I think it's better than like, you know, the old FGO. The old FGO stories are just so bad, right? Because they're written like trash. But like for like the new school stuff, I think Lost Belt 3 is probably the worst that I can think of. With Epic of Remnants, I think they would only animate one that was really popular. Right? I don't think they're gonna do all of them by any means. I think they would only do ones that are really popular. I always like when they try to pronounce the Irish names. Those are always way off, but even the Irish don't know how to pronounce the Irish names anymore. There literally is not much agreement on how that is supposed to be. You got Mev or Maeve, that's not at least, you know, say her name, but it's not spelled anything like that. You know, at least by English standards, obviously, right? And that's why it's like there's no point in getting into these pronunciation. I am so sick of having to explain why getting into pronunciation, you know, dick fights is stupid. But it's like people won't stop doing it, and it's just it boggles my mind how fundamentally people don't understand how language works. It really blows my mind. And it's also sad. I feel like, never mind pronunciation of things, I feel like people have literally lost track of what language is for. They forget that it's a tool to communicate ideas, right? And it's because I don't think people realize, for example, let's say you took let's say almost everyone on planet Earth died, but a bunch of like babies survived, right? And somehow these babies don't, you know, die from not being taken care of or whatever. They're taken care of by robots or, you know, wolves or luck or whatever. They're not gonna grow up and have language. They could be our kids where we have all this developed language and stuff, and you'd have all these new kids that literally don't have language, right? Yes, the human brain will be able to start like, you know, pointing and grunting, right? And you know, they can like, determine like happiness and sadness from like tone and stuff, but they're not going to be able to communicate like we do. Not even close. You know, they will, you know, make some unbelievably basic language, you know, like I said, grunting and shit. But like just like that, you could lose language, right? And then over a very long period of time, you know, their children would have slightly more, you know, they start to pick up on the way their parents are grunting much faster, right? And then they could have slightly more advanced grunting. And then their kids, you know, it just keeps going and going, and then you just get, you know, more and more language gets more and more advanced, and then you have people going to different regions, and they start, you know, taking their grunting sounds and, you know, developing it in different directions, you know, and then those languages, you know, merge into each other. There's no, like, people have this idea that there's, like, just like these pillars of language that just exist, right? That's not a thing, right? Almost every language that exists today, every modern language is heavily influenced by a bunch of other languages. You know, people are always like criticizing English because I was like, oh yeah, English is just, you know, borrowing from all these other languages, which those languages all just borrowed from a bunch of other languages too, right? And it just goes on and so on and so forth. And it's like a good example of this, of where I think people have forgotten the point of language. English is a really good example. You have all these people that are like, oh, when we adopt a word from another language, we should use their rules to respect their culture and stuff. That's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. You don't do that, because that's not the point of language. The point of language is to communicate, and to make that simple and easy is you need to have a set of rules, and you follow those rules, because it's your language. It doesn't matter if your language is borrowing from other languages. It's your language now, and you need to, you know, have it work, right? And so like in the English language, I find it so insane that like literally every single word in the English language is borrowed from another language. Every single one of them. There is no, I think we may have made up a few random bullshit words for like, you know, some things, but for the most part, every fucking word in the English language is derived from other languages. It's sometimes fusions, right? And for a lot of the ones that are older, we applied our rules to them, right? There are some exceptions to that, but a lot of the ones that are older, we supplied our rules to them. But the newer words that we adopt, like in the last like 100 years or so, you know, those we almost always will use the other language's rules. And so we have this absurd hodgepodge language where half the time we use our rules and half the time we use their rules. And like a third party would have no idea that you're supposed to use the French rules for buffet, and they're gonna think it's like buffet. And rightfully so. There's literally nothing in our language that actually says we're supposed to use the French rules for how like, it's stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's so illogical, and it makes a bad language, right? And the reason it happens is because people get all about culture and tradition and blah, 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 and you gotta respect each other's. That's stupid. That's fucking stupid. There's no point, there's no room for tradition when it comes to communicating ideas. That's irrelevant. It's nonsense, right? The point of language is strictly to communicate ideas, and your culture, your region, your city, your country, or whatever needs to be able to do that as well as possible, obviously. And the best way to do that is just you make your rules and you follow your rules. And if you want to change or update your rules, that's fine too, right? But this whole like, oh, sometimes we use other people's rules and sometimes we use our... That's insanity, right? That's absolute insanity. There's no reason to do that, right? And not only that, then you have like biological problems with that, because, you know, you have like the reason... I don't ever give Japanese people a hard time for having such a fucking hard time with L's and R's. Right, because they have not, their language does not utilize their tongue in that way, so it's incredibly difficult for them to do that, right? So it's like making fun of them for not being, you know, pronouncing, you know, names or words that have lots of L's and R nonsense in it is stupid. That makes you a jackass, right? Like, so it's just dumb. Like, the whole thing is just, it's silly to me, and I don't know how we got to this point, right? Because our ancestors obviously didn't. Right, the reason English got to the way that it was because we were obviously, you know, all these different cultures and that were working together, and they kind of just fused all their languages and they borrowed from other languages, and they kind of just, you know, eventually developed, you know, English, and that was that. So obviously they had to make their own rules, and that's why you have like all these old words that aren't spelled the same way anymore, right? How they became like fusions of other words is because they just took the other languages and they just slapped their rules on it, right? And that's where these whole words come from. It's like that's why they're not the exact same word from whatever they were based on, right? Now, see, that's different. I'll say this: English is different from how Japan will pronounce things, right? So, like with them messing up Medusa's name, that's not a pronunciation issue. That's a spelling issue, right? And they're literally using English instead of their own spelling, right? They're not using Japanese characters. You know, they're specifically using the alphabet, right? So that's different. There's a difference between, like, you're literally trying to use someone else's, you know, letters, right? And so it's kind of awkward though, because you have a lot of languages that share letters, you know, but then there's a lot that don't, right? So you have some languages that are similar, like, you know, that use like the alphabet. Sometimes the alphabet's a little bit different, but like the English alphabet, you know, there's several languages that will use something very similar to that. But then you obviously have like English and Korean, and there's simply no connection, right? The alphabets are completely different, so it doesn't work that way. So Japan frequently likes to try to spell things in with the English alphabet for some fucking reason, and you know, a lot of times it's not a matter of pronunciation or anything like that. It's normally a matter of them just not understanding the language very well, and not bothering to research it or whatever. And I don't even care about that. I'm not insulted that he spelled Medusa in like the weirdest way ever. But you know that's not the same kind of thing as like how Japan, you know, pronounces mash, mashu. It's not like literally that. It's not like they're trying to spell it out like mashu, right? They just pronounce mash, mashu, right? That's how they do that, right? They add the u to fucking everything with names. You know, you got, you know, Raditsu instead of Raditz and shit, right? You're not pronouncing Raditz wrong if you pronounce it Raditz. But you're not. That's the English pronunciation, right? Where if you happen to be Japanese, you're probably going to pronounce it Raditsu, right? That's just how this works. And people get so anal, like if you're not saying, you know, Raditsu instead of Raditz, you're doing it wrong. No, you're not, right? Like you're literally not. Like that, it's ridiculous. And that's literally why you have all these names in the English language that are like derived from other languages, but we pronounce them slightly differently, right? It's because we have a different language. And we pronounce things differently. It's great because you literally will have like direct names that like, you know, like John. John, you know, has like a history of where that name comes from, right? And like names that it's derivative of. You know, there's a reason we ended up pronouncing it John, because that's the way we pronounce those other names, and then it just becomes John, right? Yeah, I will say MASH is also a unique one because I don't think they even knew what they were doing at that point. Because originally they wanted her name to be Matthew. That was the original. I remember way back when FGO had first come out. You had like, you know, magazine articles and shit. Like they wanted her name to be Matthew, but they obviously changed their mind on that. And I think why they wanted her name to be Matthew is they felt like that was like, I think they wanted her to have like a manly name because of the Galahad thing. Like that's what I very much like early on days of FGO. I very much got that vibe from like the way they treated that character. I think they wanted her to have like and they wanted her to have a Western name that was more manly. But then wouldn't necessarily sound manly, especially to the ears of the Japanese. I very much think that's what they were trying to do. And they do shit like that all the time, like where they use German names and German terminology for like things and shit like that. But then I guess they just didn't like it, or it was too confusing, or they couldn't pronounce the damn thing, and so they just switched to MASH. And they pronounce MASH, Mashu, right? And then so now we have all these people getting mad at people for spelling it MASH, for God's sakes. Like, it's just ridiculous. You can pronounce it whichever way you want. It doesn't matter, you know, it literally doesn't matter. But I see people getting mad, people spelling Mash's name Mash, right? Like there's a huge difference between pronunciation and spelling, obviously. Yeah, I don't know if they decided to go with that because of the Hebrew origin or not. But originally it was Matthew, which I think that probably has roots going back to Hebrew anyway, so that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I'm not surprised it was used for a guy. Like, so they very much wanted her just to kind of have like a guy's name, I think. Like I know a guy that I know several people that speak English and Japanese, but most people like I know like that, or you know, originally speak English and then learn Japanese. But I know a couple people that originally speak Japanese and then now can speak English, and like they don't pronounce my name the way I pronounce my name. And not once have I gotten mad at them, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? Because I know what they're saying, right? It's close enough. It's just, you know, that's just the way they pronounce it. That's fine, right? It's not like I'm like, oh, what are you saying? I can't, that miraculously sounds almost exactly like my name. I wonder what they're saying. Like, it's stupid, dude. Dude, this is something I've noticed over the years, that a lot of names that were either male names or both have become almost exclusively female over time. And I don't really ever see the opposite. Maybe I just haven't noticed. But like, I can think of a lot of names that were originally male names, or they were both, right? They could be boy or girl. And then they became either almost exclusively female or exclusively female. Like, there's a lot like that. Like, Ashley used to be a male name, and now it's occasionally you see men still named Ashley, but overwhelmingly it's a female name now. Morgan is the same way. Morgan used to be almost entirely a male name. It was pretty much always a both, but it was, you know, but now it's almost exclusively female. Almost anytime if you find someone named Morgan that's a man, they're much older, right? Like, yeah, Tracy's another one. There's quite a few, and several of them have to a degree maintained, you know, being unisex, right? But they normally still favor female a bit more. I don't know why this happens, and I can't really. I'm sure there's at least one or two examples of the opposite happening, but I don't know why that happens though. I have no idea why that happens. Some names being gendered kind of makes sense, right? Like Vortigern, for example. Obviously, that's not really a name that exists anymore. But you know, you can kind of see why you wouldn't, you know, have a girl and be like, yeah, I'm gonna name that Vortigern, right? You know, things like that. But yeah, most names, it doesn't really make sense, I guess, to gender them. But I don't know. I feel like it's because certain names, and this is just natural, right? This isn't like arbitrary. This is just natural biology. This is, you know, how people are. You're going to have, you know, mothers and fathers, you know, favor different names for different things, and over time, you know, what's being favored more often in one direction or another is going to be like on one gender more than the other, and then people are going to associate it with that. That's kind of how it happens. That's not arbitrary. That's pretty natural, and that's why it happens. It's like, it's because parents are going to be like, yeah, this sounds better for a female name, right? So they're just going to go with that. That's just their personal preference. But as a whole, you know, you're going to have the whole is going to overall preference to certain styles of names in one way over the other, and that's how it happens. Like that's how it happens. But so I don't find it weird that gendered names exist. What I find weird is that like so often unisex names become female names. I don't really get why that happens. Obviously, it's natural because it does happen. You know, it's something that just, you know, however the fuck, you know, our biology works out. But I wish I had something fun to do right now. But I you know, it's nice to talk about bullshit, but I like to play the game too. But I hate. I mean, I literally I'm flipping the game off. Like, I hate this fucking event. This is so lame. This is like awful, and it's, you know, it might get better. It legitimately might get better. We've had some events in the past where they start out like absolute horse shit, and then at some point they get better. But I'm not playing Arknights. If I wanted to play Arknights, I would be playing it right now. Like, it's like, I'm so stuck right now. Normally, if I don't like an event, I'll just brainlessly farm it. But I don't even want to brainlessly farm this event because the way you have to brainlessly farm this event. So I literally don't even want to play this event. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try to get Nobunatsuku on my, my newbie account. Because I haven't done that yet, and I need to get that done. So, give me a second. I think I already have that account ready to go, too. Okay, I almost have it ready to go. Give me one second. I actually have no idea what that off key is. I'm assuming it's like for auto collecting. You got like your growing QP and shit, and you can collect it like every 8 hours or whatever. I would imagine turning it on just makes it auto collect, but I don't know. I don't know what it says. That's just a guess. I can't think of what else it would be. Oh, excuse me. I had a resub. Oh, Finn. Thank you, Finn, for the 14-month resub, dude. Yeah, I see a lot of things that people, they act like they're artificial or like, you know, we're forcing them, but a lot of times it's just the natural thing, like how humanity's gonna play out, so it's not that big of a deal. And sometimes those things might be harmful, you might even need to fight against them or whatever, but like, you know, names get gendered because, you know, overall that's how society sees them, and that's fine, like, who cares? Oh, it sends you a notification to collect. That's a lot worse than just collecting it. Like, chat, I really feel bad. Like, I feel like I'm watching this thing I really like die. Like, that's what it feels like. And through such just poor... Why did I stop when I had one enemy left? I don't know what was going on here. Anyway, like, it sucks. You know, I want good things for FGO. It's not like I'm bored of it. Like, it's when I'm actually surprised at how, you know, much fun I do have with the boss fights in this game, and I've never gotten bored with them, right? Like, I'm not even close to getting bored with like the boss fights and like when they do good content, right? Like, not at all. I love that stuff. But I'm seeing FGO make that kind of content less and less. I'm seeing them do animation updates less and less and handling them worse and worse. You know, I'm seeing the events get worse and worse. You know, like, hell, I'm normally more, like, I was more excited, I would rather, like, half the time, I can't believe I'm saying this because this is almost never the case, but, like, NA normally has more interesting stuff to do than JP, right? right? You know, the 2-year version of the game that's stuck in the past right now is better than the current version. And they don't have that dumbass speed version, right? They don't have like the dumbass, you know, where like the game speeds up and slows down constantly with that speed change they did, right? Like it's ridiculous. All right, let's. But yeah, it's like I feel like I'm just watching FGO die, like, and it's so easily avoided. Like it's not dying because people are burnt out or because people don't like Fate anymore. Like it's none of that. None of that stuff has really happened, right? They're so slow. They don't innovate. They don't change. Like Cairo was saying, you know, to me, he's pretty bored with FGO, and it's because they just don't change. And he's like, because Cairo also says he likes challenge quests and all that stuff, but he doesn't have the patience to go through the events to get to the challenge quests, because you know they don't let you just play the challenge quest, right? You have to do all this other horse shit to unlock it, right? It's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. You can't. No one can disagree with this. Even if you're still enjoying like the formula is the same as it was literally like 5 years ago, right? Like literally they just do main story every once in a while, and they have these time limited events that you farm and you know clear shop and then boss at the end. They've been doing that exact formula for 5 fucking years. Right, with nothing to do in between, right? That is insanity. Like it's absolute insanity. Genshin's not sucking my motivation at all, to be honest, because Genshin just doesn't. Don't get me wrong, I like Impact and everything. It's cool, right? I like the game, but it's not a game that I feel like I need to play. I feel like I can go play it anytime I want. If anything, I almost prefer playing it right with gaps in between, right? Because then it's like I'm not going to run out of things to do, but before the add new stuff, right? That's more like a single player game, right? By the way, it's not spyware. I'm so tired of people saying that. That's like people say that like they want to hate on the game and they don't know anything about it. It never had spyware to begin with, and it doesn't do what people said it do. That's literally like 5 people that like try to spread that because they weren't like hackers that like really know programming. They just saw something was running in the background, like, oh, it must be spyware, and then that catches on and people start repeating it, and there's like this counterculture of people that want to act like, you know, Impact is like some evil game because like how dare it be popular like Fortnite, where like, it literally was just antivirus, which is very normal for antiviruses to run in the background, and they literally immediately fixed it so it would not run in the background when you weren't playing the game. That is incredibly normal, and that's nothing, right? Like people were just like, oh, this must be spyware. Like I see that kind of stuff happen all the time, where like uninformed people will blurt something out and then it catches on in the player base forever, and they act like it's a thing when it never was to begin with. It's fucking stupid. I like how constant. We are getting kind of bad luck with no bro, but I mean we'll get them. But we're getting a lot of, you know, I bet you, chat, we've gotten way more of the other 1-stars. I bet you I've gotten a bunch of every other 1-star except for no bro. But we are getting a lot of the XPs thingies, so I don't really care. Like, a lot of times you'll have things where, like, an anti-cheat is just not working properly. That doesn't mean it's fucking spyware. Like, it's just stupid. Literally, the closest thing to spyware like that is Facebook, though, legitimately. Like, it legitimately does, you know, gather as much data about you as humanly possible. The thing is, even that, although, you know, blatantly is not good, especially because originally they weren't disclosing it and that kind of thing, it's not, people think it's, like, they're collecting data and like some kind of like, you know, they're spying on you when you're, you know, watching a movie or something. That's not what it is. It's group statistics. There's no individual knowledge with those kinds of things. Not that, again, what Facebook was doing was really bad, and they're obviously still doing it, but now it's disclosed better and whatnot. But like, you know, I'm still not like saying that's a good thing to do, but it's not, especially when you lie about it. That, but it's not like Facebook was like telling other companies, hey, Jim Bob is doing these specific things, right? It's demographic data, you know. It's not even useful to them to have individual data. That doesn't do anything. Again, what Facebook did, not good, but, you know, people act like it's like some like personal spying or something when it's just not what it is. I've never used Facebook, not because of the collecting your data thing. It's because of the I just never cared. I literally was never interested in Facebook. Like, I was never interested in that kind of thing to begin with, so I never even bothered with it. Like, newsflash, your data is being collected in every which way in almost everything that you're doing, right? It's not, again, not personal data, but it's like, it's just, you know, statistics have been being collected, you know, through people for so long. Like, this is nothing new. Like, it's literally nothing new. And it's like, it's, you know, it's because it allows, you know, people to make better marketing. It allows people to, you know, do those kinds of things. So it's like, it's something that works. So obviously every company ever is trying to get it. That's the thing. Right, how many of him did I get? Well, we got a look, we got all these new Spartacuses. Right, we all those new Spartacuses. Lot of Mataharis, a lot of Mozarts. We got okay, of course. Thanks, game. It's fine though. Even if I had less FP, it would still be fine because like you get a free summon every day, and the event itself gives out a bunch of FP. Although, like I said, I'm not, guys. I'm serious. I'm not sure I'm gonna finish this event. I just can't. I hate it so much, and I feel insulted by it. It's like they've gone so long without giving us anything worth a fuck, and like this is what they give us now. I'm like. I mean, I'll probably get it done because I'll just probably, you know, farm it autopilot on the side, and even if I'm not being efficient with the supports and shit, I just whatever. Like because it doesn't look like it's gonna be hard to get through in terms of the amount of farming you have to do, but like, I need one more. Probably should put auto burn on for XP cards with this. Like, it sucks. I wanna use no bro so bad. Like I'm in the mood. I'm ready. Like it's not like again. I've seen so many people on Reddit, of course, that are just like, oh, green clearly is just, you know, burned out of the game and doesn't want to play anymore. No, I am so ready to go do shit. You know, I want to go do a Canis setup for something. I want to go Ku solo something. I want to go, you know, I want to go make a no bro team setup. I want to compare him to Hans. I am so fucking ready, man. Like, but you can't. Right? They're just like, nope, go do the world's worst farming again. I actually prefer targeted ads. Like, I'm legitimately okay with, because like I'm a busy guy. Seriously, I don't have loads of free time. A lot of times I literally miss, and I don't even realize like a new show is out, a new a new graphics card is out, a new game is out. I miss that shit constantly, right? I don't, if an ad starts playing that starts telling me about like a new show I might legitimately be interested in, or a new graphics card is out, I'm okay with this, right? It is really easy for me to miss things and not realize, oh hey, like The Mandalorian Season 2 started. I don't know when that's starting, I don't have a fucking clue, right? Like, I have no problem with targeted ads, right? Like, at all. Like, I would much rather have an ad about something relative to my sphere. It doesn't have to be something necessarily relative, because, you know, targeted ads are not capable of, like, being... I just messed up my screen size. They're not capable of, like, you know, having super detailed information, right? It's more like general stuff. Oh, this guy's a nerd, right? So we kind of in that sphere, right? Like, that's the kind... I'm okay with that. Even if like, some of my ads are just in the nerd sphere, they're not necessarily right up my alley, I'm okay with that. It's fine. It's actually, again, it's useful to me. Like, I'm happy to have targeted ads. What I don't like is untargeted ads, because they're a waste of space, right? Like literally they're a waste of space. If an ad is playing and it's not something that's even remotely relative to me, right? Like, it's like, if it's like, I don't know, like, you know, kitchenware, that is useless. If I'm watching an ad for kitchenware, that is absolutely worthless to me. It's not going to influence my purchasing decisions. It's not, I'm not like, oh hey, that's a thing now. Like, it's nothing. It's like 30 seconds of boring, right? Where if an ad is at least in the sphere of what I care about, you know, like a new mouse. Maybe my mouse is getting ready to poop out, and maybe I don't buy that mouse, but it makes me go look. It just reminds me. It's like, that's fine. It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong. I see some people acting like targeted ads are like offensive. I'm like, no, they're actually quite practical for everyone involved. It connects consumers and the people that make the products better. That's good. Right now, obviously, there's things like, you know, false advertising and shit like that we gotta worry about, right? Of course, but like, Jesus Christ, there's nothing wrong with targeted ads. I don't even know why people get so mad about the Raid Shadow Legends thing. Like, I feel like that game, I don't think that game's like an amazing mobile game. I really don't. I think it phones in a lot. It has a few things about it though that I'm like, okay, that's actually good. I actually really like its character designs. There's a lot of character designs I don't like, but it has a lot of like just dudes in medieval armor, and I'm totally okay with that. But you know, it's pretty generic and it's phoned in, and I don't think their marketing is done particularly well because they try to act like they're Genshin Impact, right? Where they're like they got like a RPG story going on and everything. It's not, right? It's not that. I think their ads are done quite badly, but I don't like, you know, Raid Shadowlands is whatever. Like I don't care. I'm not like insulted by its existence. And I've seen a couple of ads for them that I actually thought were funny. Like I've seen a couple, not very many, but I've seen a few ads for them where they would like, you know, like play out like how the characters would be in real life or whatever that were kind of amusing and I didn't mind, right? I feel like it's obvious. It's just obvious from like the way people act in chat. People have this negative bias against Raid Shadow Legends. It's obvious, right? Because it's, you know, it's so in their face so much that even if they did put out a good ad, people aren't gonna like it, right? They don't want Raid Shadow Legends to put out a good ad, right? But it's like, what's funny is I know a lot of people have never seen a Raid Shadow Legends ad because they don't play mobile games, right? So there's your targeted ads for you. But yeah, it's like I don't care. Like it just doesn't. If I see a Raid Shadow Legends ad, that's not very useful to me because I've already, you know, played the game, so I already know if I like it or not. But you know, I tell you what, I'd rather see a Raid Shadow Legends ad than see like, you know, an advertisement for like a chair. Right, like what the fuck is that? Like, that's such a waste of space again. Yeah, actually, I guess a lot of people probably have seen Raid Shadow Legends ads, even if they don't have targeted ads, because a lot of YouTubers, you know, that have nothing to do with gaming, will still get promoted by them, and they'll still like talk about it in their videos and stuff. So that's a thing. That's why they do it though. Like they wanted to get their game in front of as many eyes as possible, and Raid Shadow Legends has been decently successful. Yeah, it's not like the top. You know, if you look at the top, it was like that. There's like that honor game. I forget the name of it. That's been doing well. You know, Clash of Clans is still doing well. You know, and there's some other Gacha games that like spike up there, like the Dragon Ball Z one, and sometimes Grand Blue Fantasy spikes up there. Wait, did I burn Izo? Did I seriously do that? I'm really an autopilot. That's not good because I don't think I had him MP5. I think I had him MP like 3. Did I seriously burn Izo? How am I in that much of autopilot right now? Oops. Yeah, actually, he's still rated up, isn't he? I think I probably should. Let me go look. I don't remember what he is on this account. That's so. Why didn't I just instantly fuse him though? That's what I would normally have done if I get a unit like that. That's really weird. I cannot believe I just burned Izo. That's whack, dude. Yeah, he's only MP3. That's weird. Well, time to roll for Izo. Yeah, that's, I mean, I've honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I don't think this account is ever really going to use Izo. Like, I really don't. Like, it's just, I don't see me needing him. You know, we're already past elite students. I don't see situations where I'm using him over, like, double 100 face. I really don't. But, I mean, it's nice to have him just in case. And besides, maybe I get some CEs, because I don't think any CEs are rated up in this, and that's good. This account wants to actually avoid rated up CEs really bad, because it wants to get things like, you know, Art of Death, the Sakura CE, you know, Element, whatever the fuck, Imaginary Element or whatever, Imaginary Round, you know, those things, K-Scope, you know, those things are more useful. You know, the Shinji CE, those things are, oh god, those things are really useful to me, opposed to, like, a lot of the rate-up CEs. She's really good now. With all of her buffs, she's honestly a really good unit now. Nothing too good here. More Kimlans are good. I need battle Kimlans. I need more Shinjis. I don't have this limit broken. This is a... I think every account should have a limit broken Shinji CE. Every account. Like 100%. See, that's better than almost anything I could get that's rated up from something else. And so is that. That's really good to have too. This guy doesn't have a lot of sure hit yet. That's I mean, he's good, I guess, but not a huge Himiko fan. Yeah, 2030 is really good to get. We have a bunch of summon tickets too. And like I said, if I don't get Ezo, MP3 is good enough, because again, I'm probably not going to level him anytime. Oh, that's good. There we go. Don't want to limit break that. Art of Death is good. Alright, no Ezos, which sucks, but honestly, this has been pretty nice. That's a lot of fundamental CEs that this account wants to get, so I don't mind at all. Because, I mean, I'm way more likely to use 2030 on this account than I am to use Ezo. And I love Ezo, he's a cool guy and everything, but from a practicality standpoint, on an ult account, he's not that big of a deal. And if I want to play him for fun, I got him on my main, so no big deal. Yeah, this is the newbie account. That's pretty good. It's niche as hell, but it gives you a lot of anti-debuff in the short term. And I have seen a few boss fights where this is godly. It's sometimes hard to justify the lack of starting NP and that kind of thing on it, but it can be good. It can definitely be good. I'm telling you, man, the default pool of CEs is just got so many things that you want, and it's just nice to build up your backbone. Now, once you get that backbone, oh, there we go, MP5 Ricky boy. But once you get that backbone, you don't really need to then, you know, worry about story or getting non-rated up CEs anymore, because, you know, once you've got Art of Death and you got K-Scope and you got the Joan of Arc CE and you've got the Shinji CE and all those things, you know, it takes a minute to get all those things. But once you've got like that fundamental backbone, it's not as big of a deal. I wish you could get fucking ley line, dude. If you could get ley line when you're rolling, it's so nice. It's like the best 3-star CE ever. And it's so helpful for new accounts, and it's like one of the only ones that's not in regular Gacha for some reason. I've gotten Akita on an account before. I don't think this account got her. We got Hijikata, because it's like their rate up is like between Hijikata and Akita, and we got Hijikata. I've been getting a lot of 5-stars recently, none of which that I actually want. Oh, there we go. Do I go for another one? I mean, NP4 is probably more than enough. I feel like we might want to wait just in case they add something else soon. Yeah, I should probably stop. I mean, I don't know. That was good, man. NP5 or bust. Okay, fuck it. We're getting good CEs, so fuck it. It's fine. It's not, I doubt they're gonna add a 3-star in part 2 anyway. And if they do, it's like whatever. It's not my main account, so. Chat likes their murder hobo. I really don't mind though. There's so many things that this account needs CE-wise. That's not too big of a deal. And like even if I unlocked Asclepius and Story Summon tomorrow, I would just start rolling until I got him from that point, right? So it doesn't really matter. Once we are starting work on the Lost Belts though, then I am gonna start making sure I'm saving up for try to eventually get a Asclepius. Just every time I get 30 SQ, we'll roll Story. Man, I wish I had that limit broken. I keep getting that CE on different accounts. And when I rolled when it was rated up, right? Not a lot, but I rolled some, and I got like no copies of it. And I think what was it? What was it rated up with initially? Because I know I got like the units, but I couldn't get it. It was Canis, wasn't it? Wasn't it rated up with Canis? And I was literally rolling for NP5 Canis. And I think it was rated up again with Romulus. And I rolled for NP2 Romulus. And I think I only got 2 copies of it. Like, it's fucking annoying, dude. It's like one of the few times the rated up CE I actually wanted. And I rolled twice. Like, Jesus. I got like, seriously, hold on. This is bullshit. I've used 400 SQ to try to get not Virgil, excuse me. And I got 2 MLBs of the 5-star CE that was rated up. When I was trying to just get NP2 Virgil, right? And I got 1 copy of them from a summon ticket, so it was more like NP1 Virgil, right? So in 400 SQ, I limit break this worthless 5-star CE that's rated up right now over here. I limit broke it twice in 400 SQ. Like, fuck you, game. And then I used, between Canis and Romulus, where it was that 5-star CE, it was rated up on both of them. I think I used almost, okay, I think I used, like, what was it, 450 for Canis, and I used, like, 600 some odd for Romulus. So it was almost 1,000. I used almost 1,000 SQ there, and I got 2 copies of it, I think. Maybe 3, but I think I got 2 copies of it. What is that? And I NP5'd Canis, right? I NP2'd Romulus, like, God. It's one of the few CEs I wanted, because I was like, you know what? If you're not gonna go with starting NP, this can be pretty good on units like Arthur and Mordred and stuff. Sure, you're gonna want it starting NP more times than not, I would say. But I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And like, you know, if you wanted to use it on Arthur, it's cool because it's his master, right? You can have like a lore thing here, right? But no, you can't get that one. But I can get all these worthless CEs a million times that I don't want. Feels bad, man. But yeah, it's like, it's one of those CEs that, like, on the rare occasion that you're not gonna go starting NP, it's got some uses, you know. But yeah, I can't have it. I have been spooked by it once on my main account since then, so maybe someday I'll limit break it, but not anytime soon. Nah, the new shop C is not that good. It's like, it's almost good, but the way they did its stats make it kind of meh. Like, it's almost good, but instead it's meh. It's not bad, but it's definitely not top tier. It could have been, but it's not. It is nice for a new account though, right? If you're like a super new account and you don't have a lot of the other CEs out there, you know, it's nice to have. I've been on the fence about grailing Arthur for so long. I rarely grail 5 stars on my main account, but I really do like Arthur. But I like Enkidu too. But then I really want to grail all these like low stars. I want to grail like Leonidas and Beowulf. That's a 4-star. But still, you know, there's just so many things that I want to grail. I can't decide if I want to grail Arthur or not. And he's in the exact same niche as Mordred, so practical-wise, it doesn't make any sense. But I do really like Arthur, so. Okay, now we're talking. That's better. That's fucking better, man. See, that's how you make Green Boy happy, right? See, if when I was rolling on my main account, if that had popped up, that 400 SQ would have been fine, right? Like, of course I'll spend a 400 SQ for Siegfried. Like, no problem. See, now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere, chat. And this is better. This is turning my day around. There we go. Because most people aren't going to take that CE all the way to 100 anyway. But it is true. I mean, it's, you know, it can work. You know, that CE can work. But it's definitely not. I don't think it's top tier or anything. But it is good. You know, it's still usable. Oh, what about Noelle? What about Impact? I don't know. Chad is saying Noelle is great, and I concur, but I don't know what the context here is. Yeah, our Nizo was not the best. We'll go all in here. Yeah, the first time you summon in the beginner thing, you'll always get her. So she's like, you can get other things too, right? But she'll always get her in your first beginner summon, which is nice. She's a nice standard. You know, they do that on purpose, right? She's kind of a well-rounded unit that'll help you out a lot, so. A lot of people say she's bad, but it's bullshit. Now, you know, if you hate her character design, you're like, I don't want to use this, you can get away with not using her. But if you like her design, I think she's really good, so.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're absolutely not using the wall on this account ever. We're not even doing GSSR on this account. This account is 1,000,000% free to play forever. Like, we're never gonna, like, not even GSSR. Well, Izo is just gonna be NP4, but that's fine. Like, again, I mean, hell. God, our fucking, I'm glad we got 100 face on that. Our 100 face has been MP3 forever, so, you know. Yeah, actually, she's a rather good healer. I think that's one of the better things she's for. Is she's like a healer that's safe, and then even if you're not going to actively play her much, you can give the shield to other people, right? I think she's fucking great, man. I need to use this song in videos more. I don't know why, I kind of forget it exists, but it's awesome. Like, that song's really good, so yeah. I feel like I haven't used that song in a video in like 2 years, if not more, so... Actually, might have been longer than that. Amber is actually legitimately useful to most people because you need a ranged unit. Obviously, she's worse than the other ranged units, but you're probably not going to have them, so she's still very, very useful. Also, especially if you're not overstatting things. Now, most people don't play the game like I do, and I like to keep my stats in line with the enemies and make sure the content is still challenging and that kind of thing. Most people don't do that, but I do that. And in that context, her taunt thing is actually pretty awesome. You switch to her real quick and throw out the taunt thing and then go back. That's actually not bad at all. But yeah, she's inferior to a lot of the other ranged units. It's just you're probably not going to have those other ranged units, so... I don't really agree that it's all that offensive based, really. It's offensive based when you're like gearing like it's really offensive, not defensive. I know someone's saying it's defensive based, but like the top end acts like offense is the only thing that matters, and that's because they're overgearing everything, they're farming like crazy, and all they care about is farming quickly. Because they're just like doing those stupid things like repeatedly. With a normal player, it's not gonna be like that. So yeah, defensive stuff is really useful. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not like you have to use Noelle or anything, but it's like, she's absolutely really useful. That's why the most normal players like, wow, she's really useful. But I say, wow, she's really useful. And we have not gotten Qingong in forever, and I don't want to use the other one because you want a low-level Qingong as well. Honestly, these rolls went pretty well. They just happened to grab us a lot of characters that we've had a hard time with NP ranks on, so it worked out. I mean, Abyss really isn't late game. It's just what people do to show off their EP-ness. There's not even that... It's not even that useful. Like, in-game is killing bosses and farming those, like, dungeon things to get your Ascension mats and all that. That's the in-game right now. But, like, the thing is, the in-game doesn't matter. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, literally, what is wrong with people in that game? The overwhelming draw of that game is like it's an open world RPG that you get to run around exploring with characters. That's overwhelmingly why people play it, right? And then when you run out of that stuff to do, just wait for them to add more of that because that's what they're doing. Why is everyone getting so obsessed with killing slimes in a circular room as fast as humanly possible? Like, what kind of fucking moron are you, right? Like people get so, like, they run out of, like, the normal gameplay, and so then they start EP-ness comparing and how fast they can kill generic slimes in a fucking circle room. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, right? That is stupid. Like, first of all, people have already proven, if for whatever reason, for any practical reason, you need to do the Abyss stuff, you can do all of the Abyss stuff with the generic characters. It's already been done several times, right? So in terms of like doing the Abyss mode on the practical side of things, no problem, right? And in terms of like min-maxing just cuz, who gives a shit? Because the game's not about that. The game is about exploring 100%, and it's about like finding the bosses and doing the story and finding what's underneath this rock and trying to figure out how to unlock this shrine. That is what that game is about. Now, yes, in that game, you can do other things for fun, and that's fine. If you enjoy doing Abyss mode EP-ness stuff, go nuts. It's your game, play however you like, that's fine. But trying to act like that's the criteria on which you should rate units on is legitimately stupid, right? That's like rating, that's why when I do a tier list, I don't rate things based on how the fuck you solo, right? That's stupid, because that's not how most people are going to play the game. It's something you can do, and I'll mention it, and you know, solo gameplay can interact with team gameplay, because you can have, you know, units that last man stand, or they can solo bosses that are so hard it's useful to be able to solo them, right? So like that kind of stuff is useful. But like when I'm rating, you know, most of the units, like my 4-star tier list, there's no barometer of how good of they are at a solo unit, even though I love soloing, because That's stupid. There's no reason. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right? And again, like someone said in chat, it's like elitists trying to act like they're better than everyone. Because, hey, look, it's literally this. It's a bunch of elitists that spent thousands and thousands of dollars on the game that want to act like they're better than everyone. And the only way to do that is try to do the Abyss mode really, really quickly. And then they want to feel like that there are thousands of dollars that they spent on this game is not wasted, and they want to feel like they're more knowledgeable and they're better than everyone. Because look, I've got all these 5 stars and I know what I'm doing, right? When it comes to like gameplay fundamentals, they're normally not very good at the game, and I've seen that a million times, right? Like it's ridiculous. Like I was literally watching someone fight the wolf boss the other day with like every 5-star ever. He was massively over leveled and he was just getting he was getting hit all the time. It didn't matter because he was so over geared and over leveled, but he was getting hit constantly. Right, and then this guy wants to tell me, Noelle's not good because, okay, like, okay, champ, meanwhile, a guy over there double scatty, farming is going to tell me that, Hans and David aren't useful because just 3-turn forehead. Why aren't the end game of FGO is just farming constantly, so why aren't you just double scatty farming constantly? Why would you, or double Castoria farming? Why would you bother with David? Why would you do that? What's the point of that? No one could ever actually want to go through the main story or anything or do a challenge quest. No. Anyway, yeah, it's just fuck the communities in these games, man. Drive me nuts. And by all means, enjoy the content however you want. There's nothing wrong with somebody wanting to min-max the Abyss mode and get all the best 5 stars, get all the best. If they enjoy that, good for them, right? And if somebody likes soloing an FGO, good for them. But like this elitism where people like act like you have to, rate units off of their barometer because that's what they think is important. When half the time those things, like, you're gonna tell me people picked up FGO because they wanted to 3-turn farm a bunch of farming nodes. Yeah, that's what drew people to FGO. Totally. It wasn't the character designs. It wasn't the Fate universe. It wasn't the story. Oh, no. It couldn't possibly be the story. Right? Like, do people not realize the overwhelming majority of FGO players don't even play this game that much when there isn't new story? Like, whenever a new story comes out, you have people flooding in to play the game again, and then they kind of just play it casually here and there until there's like a new major event or a new story. That is the majority of the player base. And it's going to be the same damn thing for Impact and Art Knights and all these other games. Most people are not obsessed with fucking 3-turn farming, right? Like that's not what most people do. Like that's maybe the people that stick around and play when nothing is happening, sure, but that's not the draw to these games. The draw of FGO is this giant anime story, the character designs, the voice acting, the cool noble phantasms. That is why people get into FGO. Literally nobody's like, yeah, I want to go 3-turn farm a bunch of farming nodes endlessly with characters I don't care about. But they're more like, wow, this bunny girl looks really hot, I want to get that. That's why people start playing the game. And then, oh, I like the Fate franchise, I want to see the story and stuff, right? That's the majority of people. If you're one of those people that doesn't, if you play for different reasons, that's fine. There's literally nothing wrong with not being part of the norm, right? But it's like, Jesus Christ. It's like you get so many people get disconnected from like why people actually play games, right? And then I feel like some people get drawn into it too, and because they see the elitist people acting that way and they want to be accepted, they start trying to act and play that way. And I think it's a real shame. I know this because people tell me this. I'm not going to try to prescribe this personality onto people I don't know, but I've had people message me on Discord several times where they're like, yeah, I'm really glad I started watching your stuff because I realized I didn't have to, play the game this other way, because I actually don't find that very fun, and I was actually starting to get sick of FGO, but now I'm focusing more on the characters I like and doing the story and messing around with boss fights, and now I'm really enjoying the game. Now, not everyone's going to have that mindset, and they're not going to enjoy the game that way, and that's fine, right? But I absolutely see people that get caught up in the meta, right? And they get caught up in like the whale meta. It's not even the meta, it's the fucking whale meta. And they try to mimic that, and they're not even a whale, right? And then they get really bored with the game and burnt out, right? It's like, Jesus. Good old Joan of Arc. You know what? I tell you, her toolkit to this day, I actually find rather fun. It's really simple, but I feel like if you're fighting a hard boss like Zeus or whatever, you can literally just slap Joan of Arc on a lot of teams, and she'll work, but she's not going to carry you, and that's awesome. I've actually always really liked Joan of Arc's gameplay like that. She's like this nice backbone. I'm gonna save everybody, and that's good because that's what you want out of Joan of Arc. When you think, you want her to be that, oh God, protect me unit, right? And she does really well at that, but she doesn't like run the game, right? She's not like LOL, you don't even have to know what you're doing it's not like that at all. She's just this nice, reliable, you know, backbone unit to save you from some NPs, right? It's not like she's going to save you from the NPs and normal card damage and things like that, right? But you know, I've always really liked Joan of Arc's gameplay, and that's actually, she's one of those units. There's a few units out there, because I don't use 5 stars often in my videos. She's one of those few units that I feel bad that I don't get to use them very often, because there's some 5 stars that I really enjoy, and they don't trivialize the content. Right? There's some 5 stars that can trivialize content, and you know, I don't enjoy that so much. But like Joan of Arc is one of those units that every time I do get a chance to use her in a boss fight, I'm like, yeah, this is really fun. Like I legitimately, every time I get to use her in a boss fight, I'm like, it's really fun. But I don't get to use her very often, and that's another reason why I want story replay, because then I can go back and make dude, if they add story replay, I'm gonna do so many videos where I make the teams a lot more thematic, that I use like 1, 2, 5 stars, you know, and I'm so looking forward to that. Like I'm gonna kill. Mark my words. If they add story replay, Zeus's ass is dying to Tesla, right? And I'll bring 1, 2, 5 stars. I'll use whatever team that I like that works with him, and it's good enough to beat it. It doesn't matter what their rarity is. That's gonna happen, right? That's like one of the first things I want to do when they do story replay. Now, it may not be the first video I make or anything, because I kind of want to get my Tesla NP rank up if they ever rate him up again, like a Tesla animation update. You know, there's various things that make me not do the video right away, but that's like something I want to do like really bad. I got so many things that I want to do, man. Like, oh my god! Like, from an editing standpoint, I got some ideas, man. Like I got some ideas. I've been wanting to do them for years, man. Like fucking years. So hopefully it'll happen at some point. Now, the thing is, even who I'm all about boss fights, soloing, you know, 1 to 3 stars, main story, you know, yeah, that's like all I'm about. That's the whole reason I play this game. And then, of course, the characters and, you know, and all that kind of thing. But even I will 3-turn sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I want to get through this farming, and I want to watch some YouTube or, you know, do my laundry or whatever. And, you know, on the side, I'll just be 3-turning. Yeah, sure, of course. You know, nothing, you know, that's good. And so, you know, helping, you know, people know how to do that's useful, of course. But, you know, these people that act like that's the only reason to play the game, or there's something wrong with you if you're not doing that, or how dare you not be efficient all the time, it's stupid. God, I should do this event on my newbie account, because, you know, the event shop, and there's probably a grail at the end of it and all that, but oh my god. I will say, what I'll probably do on this account is I literally just won't even worry about the event bonus stuff. I'll just bring some bonus, and I'll do what I do, right? Fuck it, like Jesus. I'm not gonna worry about all the event bonus bullshit in this place. Oh, let me just, before I go autopilot burning again, that was, you know, not a good. Don't stream and burn and be an autopilot. Don't do those 3 things at the same time. Not a good idea. Let me Wow, Jesus. I mean, I have 5 Georges. I just don't want to give up the level 1 one. I feel like this is a terrible stream, though. Like, nothing's happening. But, I blame the game. I blame the game. Like, this event is shite. I know, 5 years in, we don't have a proper account system. 5 years in, we don't have a proper account system. I literally can't think of another mobile game like that now. I'm sure there's some like super old mobile game that's not like in the mainstream's eye that's probably still like that, but all the main mobile games now, every single one of them has a proper account system. Some of them are opt-in, but you can at least opt in, right? Yeah, no safety net either. I can't really think of much games that don't have safety nets. Some games have bad safety nets, but Jesus. This game technically has a safety net, but it's not. I mean, it's literally spent like $6,000 to get the safety net. Like, that's the kind of safety net it is. I'm not exaggerating. Like, you have to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for this game's safety net to kick in. And they did that on purpose, because in case the prince of, you know, whatever starts playing the game and doesn't get Jolter, right? They want him to be, you know, throw, you know, $30,000 at their face or whatever. Yeah, in some cases it probably could take more than that. It depends, but yeah, it's pretty stupid. You can only link your Google account in Japan. It doesn't work if you live in a different country, and it's only on certain devices. And it like, that is one of the like, it's so bad, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, right? Because it's not like every other game you can just link your account. It's it. You can just link your account. And in FGO, it's like, yeah, if you live in a certain country on a certain device and the moon lines up, then you can kind of link your account, right? That's like, are you, the fuck, man? Like, again, one of the more profitable games on the planet, and that's the situation it's in. It's so nonsense. Safety net is like, if you roll this much, you're guaranteed to get the rate up, so you can't get like screwed over. It's like, hey, you roll 120 times, and now you're guaranteed to receive like the rated up 5-star. It's things like that. And they're overwhelmingly standard now. And the thing is, it's not like just something to be nice. It's standard because it's good business. Because let's say somebody has saved up free SQ, right? Let's say your safety net, just bullshit number. Let's say your safety net is if you roll, 150 times, right? Not 150 tin pulls, but 150 summons, right? That's probably not what FGO would make it, but let's just say that's your safety net, right? And let's say somebody had saved up free SQ, and they had enough free SQ to do 100 summons. And in those 100 summons, they did not get lucky, and they did not get the 5-star. So now, they would only have to buy 50 summons to guarantee get that 5-star. A lot of people are like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. It's a set, I can see it's a set amount of money, and hell, I might get lucky and get them sooner. I don't mind spending, this guaranteed amount of money. And it's not gonna, and because those other rolls still count, you don't have to spend that much money, right? You're not having, and the way FGO is, you have to spend money until you happen to get the character. And you have no idea when that is. There's no like, oh, you're going to get it at this point. It's like, oh, I just have to keep going and 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 going. Like, that's stupid, right? Basically, no game does that anymore. And because it's good business, man. It's good business. Because like, even I would be more willing to do that kind of thing. I don't like gambling and stuff, but it's not gambling anymore. But it's like in Epic 7. Now, I will say in Epic 7 safety net is so easy to obtain as a free-to-play that I don't feel tempted to ever like hit the safety net if I fail to get it, because generally I have enough free stuff saved up to just get it anyway, which is almost a mistake on their part. But anyway, let's say I'm playing Epic 7 and they rate up someone I really want, and I don't hit the safety net, but I get kind of close, maybe halfway there or 3/4 there or whatever the fuck. And if I really, really like the character, I'm like, yeah, I don't really give Epic 7, money, so I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind, spending this set amount, because then it's like, okay, I spend $30, obtain character. Free-to-play game, it's like a DLC thing, that's fine. I think a lot of people can get behind that. But FGO, the dinosaur that it is, just cannot be bothered. They're too. They're like, oh, but what if the whales don't spend, $1 million on us, right? It's just stupid. Like, you're way back. The whales will still spend a lot of money because they want to get MP5 and all those other things. So you're still gonna make money off your whales, like no problem. And then you'll start getting money from people that otherwise wouldn't give you any money, and that's good business. All the other Gacha games aren't just doing it to be nice. They're not trying to, give the player base a hand. They're doing it because it's like, oh, this is ultimately better business, right? And that's normal though. It's actually normal for when like consumer-friendly things make the business better too, right? Both parties winning is generally a good thing, right? That generally works best. When you get really greedy, a lot of times you end up actually making less money. Because even for whales, though, the thing is, it's still good for whales. Because there are a lot of whales out there, and I've seen this. I have seen whales flat out say they won't play FGO because it doesn't have a safety net. Whales, although are willing to spend a lot of money and stuff, they don't want to get fucked over. They don't want to spend $9,000 because they got unbelievably unlucky. They don't like that either. And so a lot of whales only play games that have safety nets. I've seen that many fucking times. And you're still gonna make loads of money off whales without safety nets, right? Because again, whales generally don't have free SQ saved up, so they're always gonna be buying the full safety net, right? That's still plenty of money. And then they also wanna go for MP5 and all that other shit. Like, you still make loads off whales with safety nets. And then you're gonna get some whales to play which wouldn't play otherwise. Like, again, it's a really good business move. I, honest to God, have no idea why FGO doesn't have it. I feel like FGO they have no idea what they're doing, and they even said that in the early days, that they were just, they were an indie dev that never made anything, and they were very inexperienced and had no idea what they were doing, right? That was DW early on. I feel like they feel like the golden goose just landed in their lap, and they're afraid to touch anything. They're like a caveman that's in a like an engine room, and they're just like, I don't want to touch fucking anything because I don't want to mess this up, right? That's what it feels like. That's what FGO does not change, right? They don't add story replay. They don't add new game modes. They don't change worth a fuck. They stay the same forever, and it's because I swear it's because either they're lazy or they're petrified to accidentally mess up their golden goose because they don't even know what the formula is. But I don't know, it's like people ask for a safety net out of this game constantly. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. I'm so distracted, I have no idea what I'm doing. Anyway, it's asked for so much. I mean, I don't know, them not doing it with the 5th year anniversary, I don't know, man. Like, that was obviously the time to do it. Like, them not doing it there makes me kind of skeptical. Like, 'cause that's a huge landmark. 5-year anniversary is an absolutely massive landmark. People care a lot more about that than like the 6th year or the 7th year, right? Like, that's a huge landmark. And, you know, you could tell they knew it, right? They tried to make it fancy, you know, they made the stream rate fancier than normal, and they got a lot of, you know, all that stuff. But, like, they didn't do shit, man. Like, they didn't do shit. They gave it a lot of free SQ, and that is nice, but that doesn't make the game better. Toho Sniper said this, and I really agree with him. I really do think Genshin Impact is the start of like the future of these kinds of games. And I don't necessarily mean that, oh, it's going to be 3D exploration action games. That's not what I mean. I mean the fact that they're focusing even more on the gameplay than normal, and then like it can also be played on PC. You can play it on PC and your phone. I very much think that is going to be the future of these kinds of games. Didn't I already... What the fuck? How am I don't understand how I keep... Like, didn't I already... I don't understand. How did I not... How is he not popping up? I'm so confused. How is he not popping up? I don't understand. Like, how have I not given him the NP copy by now? Like, I don't... I guess because I haven't leveled him or something. And he's like, I don't understand. I'm so confused right now. I have no idea how I have not given him the NP copy by now when I was doing all that before. That makes no sense. Yeah, because that's the thing, more normal people are going to get into it, because I don't know why people haven't realized this yet. Most normal people in the nerd scene don't like this like insane focus on, like, I know this because I didn't get into mobile games forever, and I didn't play any of them forever, so I know what the perception was like the outside looking in. The perception is very much JPEGs that do nothing, that you spend thousands of dollars to get, and you have like the worst gameplay on the planet. That is the outside's perspective on most mobile games, right? And it's that or cow clickers. You know, that is overwhelmingly the normal gamer's perspective on mobile games. Is people spending thousands of dollars for JPEGs and absolutely no gameplay, and then cow clickers. That's literally everyone's perception right now. You know, the reason why Genshin is like, you know, doing better in that, like, the mainstream perception is because it's, you know, it's way more obviously a normal game, right? And it gives you all these free characters. You could anyone can see, you could easily just play Genshin Impact, never roll a Gacha, and just use all the normal characters they give you. It's like a normal RPG game, and you wouldn't even know the difference, right? Like so it's like, it obviously, you know, it had more mainstream appeal because of that, and that's obviously going to be the future of these kinds of games, because why wouldn't you want to have good gameplay too? It's so limiting to have, it's not good to have a game. The reason I played FGO eventually is because I heard the gameplay was getting good, and they had boss fights like Mordred and Gwen and all that. That's the whole reason, that's literally the thing that got me to play it. And I'm not the only one like that. I may not be the majority mindset of everyone playing FGO, but I'm certainly, there's a lot of gamers out there like me that absolutely just don't want to play Gacha games. There's so many of them out there, right? And so it's like, having good gameplay makes you reach a better audience. And you know what else makes you reach a better audience? What makes you not look like a scumbag and makes people think you have to spend thousands of dollars to do anything? Having a goddamn safety net that's reasonable, right? You have a safety net and you give out a free SQ. Because if you have free SQ, because no reasonable people think, if it's a free game, literally a free game, no one expects to be entitled to every character that comes out. If it's a, you know, it's a buy-to-play game, that's different. But in a free game like League of Legends, people, they're willing to be like, yeah, I'm not going to get every single character that comes out, but I need to get enough free currency that I can, you know, focus on the ones that I do want. You know, like, you know, and I go for, you know, every third character, every fourth character, or whatever, right? people, that's fair to expect, right? And if you have a safety net and you give out a reasonable amount of free currency, that's what you get. Yeah, if you want to get literally every single character, you're going to have to spend a lot of money, right? But if you want to just, get the characters you want, and maybe a character back to back from time to time, maybe you spend a little bit of money. That's reasonable from a free-to-play game, right? That's a fine business model. That's okay. That's not scummy, right? Safety nets, a reasonable safety net, and then giving out a lot of free currency. You're not gambling anymore, right? That's not gambling anymore, right? Like if you have no safety net, and your rates are shit, and you don't give out that much free currency. That's gambling, right? And like that hurts these games a lot, and that limits, what people are willing to, who's willing to play and stuff a lot. The thing is, even with League though, you can still play League and get loads of characters as a free-to-play. You can get loads of characters as a free-to-play, and it's not like you don't need all the new characters, and it is free. Like, Genshin Impact is nuts. I haven't spent a penny on that game yet. Not a fucking penny, and I've gotten loads of hours out of it, right? Like, if I literally stopped playing it tomorrow, I'd be like, wow, I got a lot of fun out of that game, right? And I didn't spend a penny, right? So the fact that if I want to get like a few extra characters, then I might at the curve of being a free-to-play and spend like, some money. That's not unreasonable, right? That's fine. Now, where these kind of business models get scary, and I'm not a fan, is when they have like Gacha business models, and it's not free to play, right? That's when we're getting into really scummy territory, and I definitely think those kinds of games, that's like EA and Activision and those boys, I think they're gonna try to start doing that kind of shit, definitely. Oh my God! See, this is why I have to keep going to the burn menu. This has been very frustrating, by the way. Like, I keep forgetting I need to burn things, and then I keep accidentally burning things I'm not supposed to burn, but then I have like a million things in my inventory, so I can't do anything. I honestly, God, don't know why we never, I'm pretty sure we have MP5 Bedivere. I guess I won't burn him just cause, but I'm almost positive we have MP5 Bedivere. We got that very quickly on this account. Because we've literally joked about how we got MP5 Bedivere before we got, like, 100 face and all that stupid shit. I mean, there are some Western games that use, gachas and whatnot. There's not that many. But, I mean, the medium is starting to morph. And in some ways, I think in a healthy way, because they're starting to adopt things like, safety nets, and shit like that. Like there's in many respects they're doing a good job, and I think they're becoming way less scummy than they used to be, dude. Because I think a lot of people here are probably too young to even know. My God, the mobile game industry in the early days, like, because we didn't always have phones like this, right? They kind of cropped up in the last 15 years, and they've been expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, right? But there was a real transitional period where people having powerful phones were not common, right? And my God, the early days when smartphones were just starting to have a decent adoption rate, right? When they this must have, let me think. I guess it'd have been about maybe 10 years ago now, maybe a little more than that, is when they started to get really adopted. Probably a little more than 10 years now, honestly. Anyway, and dude, mobile games back then were so bad. I mean, they were so much. You think they're scummy now, because they can get kind of scummy from time to time, but they were so much worse back then. I'm actually surprised. I've been happy to watch the phone gaming industry get healthier with time. I've been surprised by that, but happily surprised. It has very much gotten healthier as the years have gone on. I don't even know why, to be honest. Because I swear the mainstream gaming industry, like on console and PC and all that kind of stuff, that stuff has actually, I would say, gotten worse as time has gotten on, which is kind of weird. So I guess they're kind of meeting in the middle. But good God, the early phone games, none of them had real gameplay, and then they had the worst business models imaginable. They were so predatory. They were trying to get that kid who had their mom's credit card available and where they could do purchases without it needing approval and shit, right? They were looking for that kind of thing where the parent wasn't paying attention and the kid could just they were actively supporting that kind of thing, right? And the games were just designed just so and there were so many games that were just ripping each other off. I don't mean it, you know, it's normal for the whole history of gaming. It's been normal for it to have like you know, video games be really impactful and they kind of inspire a whole new genre, and that's normal, right? And like games, you know, being derivative from each other is normal. You have all the, you know, first-person shooters, you know, all come from like Doom and Wolfenstein 3D and that kind of thing, right? Like that's how you get to those points. That's fine. But I'm not talking about that kind of, you know, games being similar. They would full-on rip off games, like steal their assets and just like just copy paste like almost the entire game, you know, like change like the names a little bit and shit like that. There was so much of that on mobile, and there's still some of that on mobile, absolutely. But that was almost the entirety of mobile back in the day. Like there's still, that still exists, but that was like all it was for a long time. Like, holy shit, man. So and like Gacha games used to be like the early Gacha games, I want to say was like Idolmaster and shit like that. And I know they've evolved over time, but I don't know if that was, I know there was other mobile games a bit older than that. I don't really know their names though, because I didn't really keep up with it. But the early Gacha games did not have gameplay, man. Like they were just, you know, it was just cow clicker management stuff, right? Like just nothing, right? And you know, they didn't have safety nets and any of that shit, and they were so predatory. And that's really where the bad reputation came from, so. Angry Birds cars, what was that? I know about Angry Birds. I don't think Angry Birds was more of a real game than most other phone games. There was definitely like simple phone games like that where that was just like some basic gameplay and kind of just what it was. But honestly, Angry Birds was a lot of hate. It used to be like the mainstream phone game. But I mean, it was a perfectly reasonable game. It was rather simple, sure, but it was an actual game, for God's sakes. Oh my god, a Bejeweled clone called... Oh yeah, I remember some of that kind of thing. There's like a million Flappy Birds clones now though, because the concept is pretty straightforward. I remember, there was, I hope someone in my chat remembers this game. This was a long, this had, oh my god, I honestly don't know how long ago this was. This was before I even had a smartphone. I knew of smartphones, but I didn't even have one yet. It was one of the first like normal, it was like everyone would be like, oh my god, this is a mobile game that's an actual game. It was one of the first times anyone ever said that. It was like kind of like a slash game. It was kind of like futuristic. You're like kind of like Warframe, and kind of similar aesthetic to Warframe, kind of. And it was like, you know, used a melee weapon. This was so long ago, dude. This had to be like, this had to be over 10 years ago. It was, I remember, because I back when, you know, no, it wasn't Fruit Ninja, Jesus Christ. Guys, how can you think Warframe is similar to Fruit Ninja? Like, in terms of aesthetics, the game was quite similar to Warframe, like that kind of futuristic, you know, cyborg kind of thing, right? Infinity Blade, I think that's it. I'm so glad someone got that. When did that game come out? Oh my god, let's look this up. I think that's the game. I'm gonna Google this to make sure. I think this is it. When did this come out? It looks like 2010 is when this came out. So that was 10 years ago. I can't believe that was 10 years ago. That's crazy, dude. Because you guys don't understand. I feel so old right now. You guys do not understand. You do not. I've been following the gaming industry pretty closely for a very long time. Like ever since I was like, you know, a young teenager and shit. And I've never stopped really following it, right? And so and back when I first got into gaming, mobile devices weren't a thing. It was still flip phones and shit, right? If even that, like God. And so I completely saw the development of a more like mainstream mobile devices that we see today, right? I saw the growth from like start to now. I've seen the whole thing, right? And so from the beginning, I wasn't very interested in them because the games were just absolutely stupid and there was all I needed to do was make phone calls and stuff. And I remember keeping tabs on it and watching the industry grow and also it just being a complete shit show. And I remember, you know, watching people that would cover it and things like that. And I remember when Infinity Blade came out, it was like the first time they're like, okay, this is actually like a real game, right? And that was several years in, right? That was several years into this shit. You know, and that didn't get me to buy a phone or anything because I could play all kinds of other games. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, I remember thinking like, hey, at least they're getting somewhere now, right? And that was 10 years ago. Good God, that's crazy. Yeah, I've seen those, Arjuna, like the big bricks and shit, and those still kind of existed when I was really young. They were not quite full-on bricks, but I remember the early cell phones were still really, you know, primitive. Thank you for the tier 1 sub, man. How the hell? Go burn Imon or whatever the fuck. I think I messed that up, but thank you for the sub, man. I swear this is one of my worst streams ever, though. We're not doing anything. This is so dumb. But I blame this event. This is like the most demotivating event of all time, dude. But yeah, thank you for the sub, dude. Do I have no? What is this? Where is this account even in? I guess I'm supposed to do this. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get 20 of those lighter sticks. God, this event. Oh my God, I hate it. So this stage doesn't drop them. This stage doesn't drop them. This stage drops them. Yay! Oh my God. All right. I don't even care what I summon. I already forgot what the drops were here, so I have no idea what bonus drop I want. Okay, silver things and green bells or whatever the fuck. Good enough. And let's throw Hercules and Ushi at it. Feels bad that Ushi's not a bonus servant during this, by the way. Wait, why are my servants being ordered so weirdly? I think somehow in-party got toggled or something. This is not normally how my, I'm thinking the 1 to 3 star account. I think that's what's messing me up here. Like, I can't be bothered to check my back row to see what drop they give a boost to. Like, it's just... Because, you know, it's not like it sits there, you know, it has to cycle through all the other bonuses that you don't care about, which I think is absurd, by the way. Like, if you look at the bonus tab, you know all of these get a fucking event damage bonus and a bond bonus. Why would you need that to cycle on the screen? Right? The only thing you would care about is the fucking drop bonus, right? But of course you have to wait and see what their bonus is because you have to cycle through all the other stupid shit. Oh my God, somebody, there we go. Good enough. This is why I hate this event. Like, even if you want to go in autopilot mode, you can't. Like, it's just so bad, dude. I remember playing this game as a kid, the Sonic Adventure. I really liked that game as a kid, actually. Because I remember, I really liked the 2D Sonic games when I was growing up. You know, like Sonic, 2 and Sonic 3 and all that, and Sonic and Knuckles, you know. I really liked those games. So when they made the 3D ones, I liked them quite a bit, especially 2. I didn't really care for 1, but I remember really liking 2. I liked the gameplay a lot. And even now, I've gone back and played it for just, you know, shits and giggles from time to time, and I still enjoy the platforming and stuff. It's still fun. It's not like the, you know, it's definitely not like the best 3D platformer game that ever existed, but I still think it holds up pretty well gameplay-wise. I tell you though, a game that like holds up gameplay-wise, like a 3D platformer, it's like Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. That is nuts how well those games have stood the test of time. Like, because they're just made well. They're just good mechanics. It's you know, good level design. You know, they have really good physics for what they are, and then the level designs are great. So those games, you know, if you've never played them before and you play like Mario Sunshine now, it's just as good as pretty much any other 3D platformer. It's great. So. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is free on Steam. Man, Sonic 2 is a perfectly decent game, but I feel like it's completely inferior to Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles in so many ways that it's really hard. I rarely want to go back and play it just because I like it's got some cool music and some of the level design's nice, but like the way the gameplay unfolds in the boss battles and stuff, I just feel like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is like so much better than Sonic 2 that I don't really ever play Sonic 2 anymore. I do like the music though. By the way, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is in early access, and it shows there's so many bugs in that game. There's so many fucking bugs in that game. Anyway, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 with Cairo and my brother and Tusk. And that has been a very interesting experience. That game is kind of like, you know, an actualized D&D campaign, basically. And they have, you know, all the saving throws and bullshit you can do and throwing your teammates and, you know, it's been wild. That game is so in early access, but it's kind of like Divinity. If you played Divinity Original Sin, it's kind of like those games, but a little bit less, you know, Divinity with all the elemental nonsense and that kind of thing, and a little bit more D&D. That's kind of where it is, but it is very similar to Divinity. It's kind of a little bit more of the pen and paper stuff than what Divinity has, I would say. It's kind of the way it's done. But and you know, it's like a preset campaign basically. But there's a decent amount of room for freedom and stuff. I don't know why I just summoned Queen of Sheba, but whatever. But so my favorite thing that's happened was there's this like rundown town, right? Anyone that's played this will know what I'm talking about because it's very early in the game. But there's like this rundown town where there's like a bunch of goblins in it, right? And you know, we're fighting the goblins and all that kind of thing. And you know, we had some pretty, you know, fun engagements with that. And I actually we had like a really big engagement, and we opened it up by. My friend Tusk is playing a halfling, but he did the character customization to make his halfling look like a goblin, which is amazing. And so I just picked, I'm like a strength character, and I'm like really strong, so I literally picked him up and threw him at the enemy to initiate the combat, and you know, he landed on them and did damage to them. And then because the way that the AI worked, this was so stupid, because I threw an object at them, they weren't aggroed to Tusk, they were aggroed to me only, so he wasn't in combat with them. So I throw him at them, and he's just like a dude on the ground that fell over, right? And they're all rushing at me, and he's not in combat with them, and he's like a rogue, so he starts backstabbing and killing them. He's literally one-shotting them. And because like the ones he would kill, the other ones wouldn't see, he still wasn't in combat, and he wasn't aggroed, and so he one-shot several of them before he actually got into combat. And it's really good, because we would have lost the fight otherwise. There was like us four, and there was like, I don't know, 9 of them or whatever, like we would have totally lost. Maybe one because of that. And then when you beat this fight, there's a gnome that's like tied to a windmill, like the blade on a windmill, and these goblins were like torturing him, right? And we were trying to figure out how to free him. And my brother, who's kind of a goody two-shoes generally, right? You know, we're all, you know, nonsense, and he's like the one guy that's, you know, more nice and serious and stuff, right? And he just read the text wrong. We were all trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with this windmill, and my brother just happened to be the guy that found the way to interact with it. And he read it wrong. There was a thing to hit the brakes to make the windmill stop, you know, spinning that the guy's tied to, and there was one to release the brakes, which makes it start spinning faster and faster and faster and faster. And even though he's the guy that's like trying to be nice, he accidentally hit release the brake, and he didn't even realize it. And we were outside the windmill, and so yeah, the guy died, and he got launched like a catapult from the windmill and went like across half the map. It was pretty great, and it literally an accident. So poor guy. But yeah, so yeah, that's been a very enjoyable experience. That game is so buggy though. Oh my god, like the game will just crash and just weird things happen from time to time. But that game's interesting though. I'll be interested to see how it develops. It could be pretty good. It's it's fun to play with friends. Definitely, it's a fun co-op game. I feel like if anyone is ever able to make a user-friendly, because people have tried to do this, but they don't normally do a very good job with it. If anyone can ever make a, like, I think the appeal of like pen and paper D&D is massive. It's just people can't get into the pen and paper stuff, right? But like the amount of freedom that you have, where you can just pick up your teammates and throw them, or like interact with the, you know, you can interact with like the dungeon master in a way that allows you to mimic things in like real life a lot better, where like video games would not allow you to do that. I think the first video game that's able to like have a very user-friendly way where you can make like your own maps and make, you know, like, you know, and still interact though with like a DM and stuff like that. And I know Divinity has like a custom mode that's like that, but it's not user-friendly. It's incredibly difficult to make maps and to make like the custom kind of stuff. I think the first game that's able to like really allow you to do what D&D does, but in a video game, and so you've got like a more visual reference and that kind of thing, and you have like this user-friendly thing that does the math for you and does the dice rolling for you and all that kind of stuff digitally. I think the first thing that's able to really do that proper is going to be very successful. And some games have tried, like people have definitely been dabbling in that. I think there's totally a market for that kind of thing. Dude, I can't believe how much I hate this. I cannot believe how much I hate this event. Like, it's shocking to me. I was not expecting to hate this event this much, but when in practicality, the way you have to play this event, and then relative to how little FGO has been doing recently, I'm just like, this is the worst. Yeah, I played Monster Hunter. Wow, this statue does not interact properly with the Synthi. I like Monster Hunter quite a bit. The main issue I have with Monster Hunter, and this is the same issue my friend Tusk has with it as well, is so, okay, hunting the monsters is fun. Playing with your friends, fighting big monsters is really fun, right? Like that, the gameplay is fun. The different weapons are done very well. I honestly can't compliment Monster Hunter enough with how well they do, with how different the gameplay between the weapons is, and it's like a whole experience, right? It's like a whole game within the weapon, right? And like, there's so much to master in the weapons, so that's great. That's great, right? The problem I have with Monster Hunter is a lot of the stuff in between all of that is just boring and in the way. All the RPG elements I find are in the way. Like, they're in the way of the game. And I don't, having to fiddle with them makes me not want to play the game. Right? I don't want to fiddle with the food. I don't want to fiddle with, like, changing my armor to match the boss that I'm fighting, and now I look like a peacock, right? All that running around and all that RPG element nonsense, I don't care about. Like, I just like the core gameplay, because the core gameplay is good enough on its own. You know, the hunting down the monsters and, you know, having these big epic boss battles and interacting with the events on the map, all that stuff is good enough on its own. All the RPG elements in those games completely get in the way for me and make me not want to play it as much, where the actual gameplay is really good, right? Sometimes I play it and I can weather all the RPG elements, but yeah, the RPG stuff I don't care for. No, I have not seen the trailer for the Monster Hunter movie. That seems like an insane thing to make a movie out of, though. You don't really have to kill the monsters that many times to make their armor set, though, generally. But I don't like having to constantly switch my gear. Like, honestly, the biggest incentive for me to, like, keep killing a boss to craft a specific armor set was just for the aesthetics. Right? But then you don't, then it's like, oh, I really, like, there's one armor set in that game I really like. I don't remember the name of it. Like, Monster Hunter World, like the new one, right? The newest one. There was an armor set in that was kind of hard to craft, and it looked awesome. It kind of reminded me of Mordekaiser's original design from League of Legends. I can't remember the name of it though, but it was very much my style. And you could like customize the colors. So I made like black, a little bit of green, right? And once I crafted that, I'm like, I don't want to wear any other armor now. But then you have to constantly change your armor to match what like fight you're doing and stuff, and it's just like, it's obnoxious, right? That demotivates me to play the game instead of motivates me to play the game. But the core gameplay is great in Monster Hunter. I think it's really good. The only thing I think I might change with Monster Hunter, and like this is a subjective thing, but their generic trash in the world is not interesting enough. I think there's, like, obviously the focus is on the boss battles, and that's fine, but when you're traversing the world, you might as well have some interesting trash mob engagements too, because they have trash mobs, they just suck. They're not designed well, and they're boring, right? Like, if you could have some more engaging trash mobs to deal with as you're exploring the levels and stuff, I think that would be better. Like, that's a big con, in my opinion, but the boss fights are the main focus, and the boss fights are very good. That sounds pretty bad, Arjuna. I'll look that up later. I enjoy a good shit show. You don't have to switch armor that much, and if you do get some of the late game armor, you know, you can stick to a specific armor set quite a bit. And then maybe if you have like an exact boss fight that counters you, then maybe you need to switch off of it and then just like, you know, another one. But it's still obnoxious. Like, overall, I don't really like the RPG elements of the game. They don't add anything to it. And this is honestly true for a lot of games to me. This is why when I play games like Genshin Impact, I'm not obsessed with leveling up my characters and getting the best gear I can. I'm actually obsessed with trying to keep my stats in line with what I think is reasonable with the stats of the enemy. Because I just want good gameplay, man. Like, I don't want to one-shot all the enemies, and I don't want to have to hit them a million times to kill them either, right? Like, I just like it when you have like a well-tuned game where you're always scaled against the enemies, and that's just that. That's why I like Ninja Gaiden, right? It doesn't have RPG elements. You're just you, right? And you don't really change that much, right? And the enemies are just the enemies. You know, there's no stat fluctuation really, right? And if they want something to be harder and has slightly higher stats, that's because that enemy's supposed to have like more health and everything else, right? I much prefer that kind of game design. I don't mind RPG elements though when they can add a level of customization and stuff. That can be really good. But I've never really liked a lot of RPG elements. I can like a game in spite of RPG elements, but I find most RPG elements just get in the way because it's just a way to have an unfair advantage on the enemy, or for the enemy to have an unfair advantage on you, and just stats. It's not like, oh, now they move faster, or now they move slower. It's not shit like that, right? You know, it's just like, oh, I have more health now, and so now relative to this enemy, you know, their damage is irrelevant now. Like, I don't care about that stuff. Well, that's not entirely true about guns. China often likes to act like, yeah, we're the inventors of firearms. That's not really true. Like, different areas, you know, discovered gunpowder at different times. China is definitely one of the earliest areas that did discover gunpowder. But ultimately, the route that they went with using gunpowder is not the route of how gunpowder was used. That like resulted in like guns taking over the world. It's not, right? It just isn't. They were one of the earliest countries to discover gunpowder, though. But you know, they were not the ones that refined it and ultimately, like I said, you know, influenced the world with it. They ended up getting influenced by the other countries that ended up developing firearms in a different way. But they did have, like, you know, early cannons and you know, like really like very early forms, like kind of musket is almost too generous of a word, but they had like some of the early ideas for something like a musket and shit like that, but they did not develop it and it's like the other parts of the world ended up doing eventually, right? Like, you know, they did get to gunpowder. You know, I actually don't like people that say they got to gunpowder first, because we don't actually know, because there's so many things in history we don't know, and there's so many. They're the first thing in history that we can credit with using gunpowder. But, you know, there's a lot of cultures that probably found it and didn't do much with it, and there's also people that probably found it and did minor things with it, but it was just never recorded. Like, there's no way to know who the first fucking civilization that found gunpowder was. There's no, and figured out it had flammable, you know, properties. We have no idea who the first, you know, people that did that were. This is so common in history, where the first documented thing of something is not actually the first time something happened. Like, overwhelmingly so. But that being said, China was definitely the first, like, established country that started really, you know, trying to, you know, do something with it, right? Like, but they didn't actually, they did not focus on it as much as some other countries did, and they didn't, you know, they didn't really try to expand on, like, you know, the idea of a firearm and like a gun and that kind of, they just didn't. Now, they probably would have eventually, mind you, right? Like, I think they would have gotten, I think any culture that has gunpowder long enough probably would have, because, you know, every country's gonna have engineers and those kinds of people. But, you know, ultimately, like, the modern take on what a firearm is rightly credited to Europe, because they're the ones that really pushed that angle and started really figuring. Basically, they saw, you know, gunpowder and like, okay, we can do. You know, they really wanted to do something with that, and some of that was because they were at war so much. Like, Jesus Christ, Europe was at war so much. But you know, they were happy to be like, yeah, this gun stuff is working pretty well against armor, right? Where China didn't push the invention of it so much. The steel is actually a huge holdup for most civilizations. Like, trying to go from iron to steel, that's a huge thing. That's one I talked about this a bit last stream. One of the biggest thing that results in pushing humanity forward and our knowledge of, like, you know, how to build things and warfare and what allows a certain country. Like, a big reason why Europe ended up, like, dominating the world for so long and influencing the world so long is because they got ahead. They got ahead when it comes to blacksmithing and you know, weaponry, and that was the whole blacksmithing has been a massive part of human development. Like, it's a massive part of human development has been blacksmithing, and just like the knowledge of, like, you know, how to craft things and how to you know, improve our warfare and protection and build buildings. Because, you know, blacksmithing is more than just weaponry, and so blacksmithing is kind of like the forgotten thing that's, like, it's so fundamental to, like, the advancement of a civilization. it would have been fascinating just because, you know, the Aztecs were kind of like, the Aztecs were ahead of their area but behind the world, right? But so it would have been interesting to see how they would have developed as time went on if they weren't, you know, ran over. That was an issue with Asia in general. Japan was probably that was one of the biggest things that hurt Japan. I don't remember the emperor's name and stuff, but they had a period where they basically closed their borders off to everyone, and they would only like trade with very specific people and stuff. And this was a decent period of time where Japan did this. That was a big fucking mistake on their part because it put them so behind technologically with the rest of the world. And they were a little bit behind anyway, but they could have caught up pretty quickly. But that was not a good idea. And they were basically obsessed with, like, you know, they were scared of the outside world in a way, and they didn't want to be, you know, defeated or conquered, and they also didn't want their culture to get, you know, stamped out. Which, you know, you can understand that to a degree, but like cutting themselves off to such a degree that they did, they fell behind a lot. Now, on the flip side, though, when they did realize they were falling behind dramatically, and like they had different leadership, and they wanted to reassimilate, they did a very good job of catching up. Now, they damaged them in some ways, and to this day, you can see the remnants of this, of like how they had a, you know, a mindset of X and a technological level of X, and then they started getting immediately exposed to where the modern world was, right? And that conflicted where their civilization was in many ways, and that made a lot of problems. But they did do it, you know, because they may have been behind in terms of, like, you know, knowledge in terms of, like, you know, how to do certain things technologically and stuff, but Japan was and still is a ridiculously smart country, and so they were able to pick up on engineering and all these, you know, new ideas and stuff very quickly. I mean, like, unbelievably quickly, right? They adapted so fast, and it's quite impressive how quickly they did that. Yeah, that's like a whole period of their history where they shut off and then like try to reopen, and it's a pretty interesting part of their history, to be honest. But it was very impactful, and it's a big part of why Japan is the way that they are now and everything. So the Mongols were quite the force, right? They weren't the most ahead in terms of like armor design and weapon design and all those things, but they were doing, you know, well on those kinds of things. And they were just such a good fighting force. I mean, they only really disappeared because they got bred out. Like, that's just the truth of it. The Mongols basically got bred out. You know, they didn't get completely bred out. You know, there's still, you know, Mongolian culture today and whatnot. But the reason they went from like this dominating force of Asia to not so much was because they basically got assimilated by China for the most part. Like they got bred out. Like, it was just a numbers game, right? When you have generations going by, people are obviously going to mingle, right? And so yeah, I think, you know, they in terms of the Asian area of the world, they were the top dogs for the most part, right? Like, you know, they had some ups and downs from time to time, but the Mongols dominated like no one else in that time period did in Asia, and they just got absorbed by China basically. That's you basically can't conquer China because of that, right? If you leave like a garrison in China, you know, your garrison is literally going to get absorbed to become Chinese eventually, right? Like, it's just what's going to happen, right? Enough years go by, you just can't conquer China in that kind of way. It's just not possible. Also, the Mongols basically wanted to kind of fuse their culture with China's culture because they didn't want to have like a culture war with China. They didn't want the Chinese to hate them. They didn't want to, you know, and there were still obviously issues between, you know, the Mongols and Chinese and everything, but like their leadership was trying to make it a smooth conquest, if you will, and that kind of incentivized the mingling, and that just, you know, they just disappeared eventually. I don't think they were the best army in the Old World. I think they were the best in Asia. I don't really agree though that they were the best in the world. But they were, I would have been fascinating to see what happened if they had not basically vanished, because they would have, you know, continued, just like how, you know, the other countries around the world were continuing forward, they would have continued forward too. But, you know, they did a good job. Well, the thing is, a lot of their siege capacity was Europe's siege capacity. They literally copied it, which good for them. They should. That's the smart thing to do. But it's not like they invented a lot of that siege stuff. They literally just copied it from Europe. Now that put them on par in many ways, and they had the manpower and whatnot. But that, you know, they didn't make up a lot of it. They did some of it, but like they did not make up a lot of that. The siege, like trebuchets and all that shit. They didn't make that stuff up. they just copied it, which they should. You know, good for them. That was very wise. Rome is so whack though because they're so much older than a lot of the, like when people a lot of times want to like compare, you know, they want to compare like medieval stuff to Roman stuff. You know, the Romans were mostly using iron for God's sakes, where medieval stuff is steel. It's so uncomparable. You know, in terms of tactics and whatnot, when Rome was in its prime, they were, I mean, you know, very, you know, good. You know, it's hard to argue. You know, they were very good at warfare in their prime, and you know, obviously they kind of fell apart. But only the thing is, everyone acted they fell apart and they like, you know, lost their mojo. But that was really only half the empire. You know, the Instant Empire continued on and still did very good for, you know, a long time. But yeah, I mean, a lot of their tactics were kind of copied by other, you know, nations for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages and ages, right? Like they had some of the best fundamental tactics of the times, right? And some of that stuff even influences the modern day, for God's sakes, which is pretty wild. But if you had like Rome in its prime versus a lot of the other, like, you know big boy, you know, nations that dominated their regions and whatnot, there's such a technological difference between where Rome was and where those other countries were that it's not even it's not really applicable, right? Like, because, you know, technology matters, right? Good weaponry and armor matters. You know, they were so much, you know, farther behind in terms of where they were in human history that they wouldn't fare so well against most of the other things that people would want to compare them to. But they were kind of the fundamentals of what made, you know, that region what it was. So. I actually have heard that a little bit, but I don't believe it. I don't think Ushi is Genghis Khan, but I've heard people talking about that before. It seems more like a joke to me, but I've heard a little bit of that. It is weird they haven't added Genghis Khan yet, though. Yeah, Marco Polo was Italian, right? And he shared a lot of, you know, knowledge when it comes to like construction of like siege weaponry and whatnot and things like that. But that's the thing people also forget, is that era was before, like, you know, you really had, like, you know, a lot of like the typical like medieval inventions and stuff, right? That's just, it's an older time period. A lot of people really conflate like time periods in feudal Japan with with you know, the Bronze Age, or then the medieval stuff and whatnot. Like, that was more of the era of like chainmail, right, and that kind of thing. Which also, chainmail is amazing, by the way. But I mean, hell, we still use chainmail today for some things. And chainmail was still really good. Even when, in terms of pure protection, plate armor is better than chainmail, but you would still use chainmail for like your joints and shit like that. And then if you couldn't afford plate mail, chainmail still did really well. Like, chainmail is a pretty amazing invention. I don't know what to do about FGO right now, man. I want to play it so bad because I haven't been playing much at all, but it's like they're just not giving us anything, dude. Like, I'm starving and they're just giving us, you know, invisible food. It's like, come on, man. Yeah, her voice is probably my biggest issue with the character. You know, she's just not my kind of character. Oh my god. Literally none of her ascensions are like my kind of style. None of them, right? But I don't like hate her design. And her gameplay's kind of cool, but yeah, I mean, I'll play Genshin later tonight. Yeah, this guy is probably gonna be that guy that I linked earlier, like, from the leak. I don't know if he's gonna be playable or not. It could be boss only. They've done a lot of boss only stuff for these things. I don't even know what that is, Searcher, now, but thank you for the 100 bits. Oh yeah, Venice, excuse me. Yes, that's right. I'm conflating things myself. That happens all the time. I remember reading about Marco Polo a lot when I was younger, but I don't like keep up with that whole era too much in the recent era. I do like more on the Asian side, and he is involved in that, but like I don't really look into, like, you know, his stuff specifically in that era too much. Not in a long time, anyway. fuck. Man, I cannot be bothered with the event bonus in this thing. I don't fucking care. It's stupid. I've never played either of those, but I've been told of them. And Arjuna's always trying to get me to play that stuff. I think Arjuna told me in the past it was kind of like Harvest Moon, I think. I don't know, man. They might just not do Genghis Khan. I don't know. Like, it's been so long, and they've had so many opportunities that they could have done it. And I don't know, you know, in North America, Genghis Khan is not an even remotely taboo subject in any way. Like, in no way is he a taboo subject. There's nothing about it that is taboo, right? But I don't know, maybe it's more, you know, somewhat taboo in Japan or in China or something still. I wouldn't think so, but I mean, you never know. Just because, you know, obviously he has more to do with Asia than he does anywhere else, so... And the politics in Asia to this day can be complicated. Like, normally people that ancient no one cares about, right? Like, the sensitivity is gone. I mean, I've always said, when they make grands, they're almost universally going to be new characters, and they'll just give a nod to the old characters and say that, you know, yeah, they can be the candidate for this grand or that grand, but you're not going to see them as your grand, you know, because, like, it's a selling point, right? It's a big hype thing. So they're not going to want to use very many old characters. They might say, oh yeah, this could be the grand. They're one of the people that can be summoned as the grand. It's just not the one you're going to see in the main story. I know, I feel like Genghis Khan might legitimately be more famous outside of Asia than in... Like, cause he's really famous, but yeah, I would not be surprised if that's one of those things where the people outside of Asia are more interested in it than the people in, I don't know. Especially China. And China is such a big part of their demographic in terms of profits. Like, I have no idea, I haven't looked into this. China might not give a shit, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do give a shit, and that'd be a reason they wouldn't want to do it. Like, you know, generally, it's rare that anyone cares about ancient figures. No, you know, no one's going to be insulted by, you know, Alexander the Great or anything like that, right? Like, the stuff that's that old, people feel so detached from, they normally don't care. But that's not always the case. I like how Artoria is one of the few characters that cannot be an alternate class. And so many people in chat are like, what? But I'm not making this up. Like, Artoria cannot be other classes. That's just a fact, and that hasn't even changed in FGO. Like, in Fate Stay Night, it is straight up said that Artoria can only be summoned as Saber, and that's a rather rare thing for a servant, but she can only be summoned as a Saber, and they have never actually changed that. The reason why you have a million versions of Artoria is because none of them are actually a proper summonable servant or Artoria as from Fate Stay Night, right? They jump through hoops to justify the other Artorias. So basically, just due to her life and her connection with the world and, like, you know, what she's famous for, she just cannot be summoned as anything but Saber. It's just not possible. And that, they said that way back in Fate Stay Night, and they've reiterated that several times, and they've remembered that. Every time they make an alternate version of Artoria, they remember that. And so they always justify a different version of Artoria with, she's like from an alternate world, and it's not Artoria. It's like, it's not part of the Fate Stay Night world. You know, it's from a different world, like from Fate Prototype. Like, so you can't, that's not like a thing. You know, that's how, like, Lancer Artoria is a thing. right? Or there are Artoria Saber, but for like a temporarily, for like a silly event or whatever, you know, their Saint Graph is altered and then it goes back to normal. You know, like that's why we have the Archer one and things like that. It's always one of those two reasons how they get it. So to this day, if you had a normal Grail War and a normal Fate timeline, you still can only summon Artoria as a Saber. I feel like they're gonna retcon that at some point, but the fact that they haven't retconned it, they've just, you know, worked around it so much, maybe they won't. But yeah, it is funny, she's the original character. So seriously, the original character that can have alternate versions is Artoria, and the original character that can is Ku. And then Herc, because Herc, I think they tell you in Heaven's Feel, I think. I think it's Heaven's Feel when you find out that Herc is normally not a berserker, and like he has a noble phantasm he's lost access to because he is a berserker. I think it's Heaven's Feel when you figure all that out, and I think that's when they tell you that, you know, he can be an archer and all that stuff. But Ku was in the Blade Works, right? And he was one of the first times really talked about alternate classes, and he talked, you know, Warp Spasm, so Berserker, Rodent Knowledge, Caster, you know, all that kind of stuff. And here we are years later, and Artoria has more alternate versions, I think, than anyone. I know Nero's got a lot, and a few other characters, Liz has a lot, but I think Artoria has the most alternate versions out of anyone. Yeah, especially because of Alter. I was kind of separating her from our Alter versions, but if Alter is just an alternate version to begin with, obviously. So yeah, Artoria easily has the most versions. It's not even close. Like it's so much. And if you cut out Alter, then it wouldn't be as many. Then it'd be a lot closer. But yeah, with Saber Alter and all her versions, then yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and yeah, Caster Artoria is a Lost Belt one. That's why. Like it's the same. It's basically the same thing as Lancer Artoria, where it's like not, you know, part of the normal shtick. And hell, I think she might even have like some other nonsense going on that we'll explain later. So we'll just see. All right, I think I'll wrap up for now because I'm honestly just bored out of my mind from this event. And I'm happy to hang out with chat, like seriously, but this I fucking hate this fucking event. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get food. I'm gonna relax for a minute. Then I'll come back and play some Impact, just because I mean FGO is just so fucking dead. FGO's been dead for so long, and I just can't believe this is what they gave us. I can't believe this. This is shocking to me. Like, who is managing this shit? But anyway, at least we got a new bronze that we can't actually test, but you know, that's nice. But yeah, I'll probably be back in like 30 minutes or whatever. Thank you guys for hanging out. I really appreciate it. I'm shocked that this many people sit around and listen to me ramble about nothing when my gameplay is this bad. But yeah, I think tomorrow we might just go back to playing Lost, but I'm serious. Fuck getting a Grail out of my ult accounts. I don't even care. I think I'll just start playing Lost Belts and shit. But yeah, I'll probably be back in 30 minutes, so I'm not gonna raid. And for those that want to watch me play Impact, I will see you all day.